last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Alistair.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Alistair.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie time.
Hey, yo, father. I love him when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. And I see astrology for mystics, Jen, positivity. I saw Town Chat Cafe. Good to see you. Donna. I saw Cece, Lori, Bobby. Good to see you all. James Coover. I am Two Bear. Thank you all so much for hitting the like button tonight. And I hope you all are having a good Friday today. So I posted on my community wall just kind of wishing you guys well wishes and things like that. I try to post things on my community wall, you know, just as we go. So definitely check there. So tonight I wanted to talk about you know, the holes in the stories, right? Because there's a lot of holes in the stories, and we're kind of seeing as we look back that there has been no loyalty, no loyalty whatsoever here. And I just wanted to kind of talk about if maybe there was, you know, some vulnerability taken advantage of when it comes to the parent of a missing child. Hey, show poodles, good to see you. And so I wanted to go over that tonight and just see what your thoughts are, because I'm seeing a pattern now that we're looking back into the past of a lot of mind games, a lot of bruised egos. For instance, when I think about how some of the creators will react when they aren't, God, for the lack of a better way to say it, the chosen ones that the parents will talk to, right? Or that the parents decide that, they want to support or something like that. They're not going to do that to everybody. And I saw some really, piss poor behavior. Again, not like adults. Hey, Cal Gal, good to see you, C. Taylor. So it was just kind of like, what the heck is going on? And then I listened to Justin's live because I'm trying to get this phone call down pat, right? Because there's a phone call between, and I'm coming full circle with this. There's a phone call between Heather PI that was leaked again, right? So the first one that I ever heard that was leaked was from Josh at the lab, right? He had it out and it leaked, right? Or, it was allowed to come out, I guess. It wasn't technically a leak, but for all intents and purposes, maybe we might call it that. But, but honestly, in the definition of the word, it wasn't a leak. But it was something that was released. I suppose we can say it was released. And we heard that, right? But then there's another phone call where they're going over timeline details of Sebastian's day on Sunday. And again, like I said the other night, we see a different part of Katie, right? We see another side there that is very commanding and more of what we would see someone who is militarily trained, right? So even us ladies, right? Because sometimes we're taught to kind of be more submissive, or we're kind of programmed, or we were a lot more too back in the day, right? Programmed to kind of be sweet, don't rock the boat, stuff like that. So, and that, it's not to the point of being rude, of course, but, it's like standing up for yourself, being assertive, things like that, like healthy responses to things, but definitely a little bit out of character that from what we see on, like, say, a TV interview or something like that. And of course, we are all going to act a little bit differently in a casual environment, but she was very commanding, kind of telling Chris like it was, which was actually kind of refreshing in a way. I found myself being like, yes, tell him Sunday's a freaking school night, because he's like arguing with her about whether Sunday is a school night or not. And it's like, okay, Sunday is the school night. No matter what Chris Proudfoot tells you, Sunday is the school night, right? We're getting ready for Monday. Monday's a work, and it always is that way, right? If you work a 9 to 5 or whatever, it's going to be like Sunday is the school work night. Hey, Seashell, as an adult, it's our work night. Hey, Hindsight 2002, good to see you. Your videos are so awesome. I watched some of them today. Well, I've watched a couple throughout the last couple of days. So I always enjoy your videos. But, I see this pattern of, kind of maybe more of a loyalty to the Proud Fee. And maybe there were people that were reaching out directly to infiltrate what Seth was doing and his efforts. And, again, tinfoil hat, all in my opinion, allegedly, but, it's kind of hard not to see it that way when we're looking back at the events, right? And it's definitely hard not to see it that way. It's like there was one instance in the phone call that we first heard from Heather and Katie and Chris. And it's so odd because they talk about how there's an open line of communication with Seth and law enforcement. And it's absolutely odd to me because it was almost like a little bit of a slip up or a foreshadowing, or maybe it was just something that you didn't even think of, right? It was just kind of like, just in conversation. But it seemed to me like there was an effort, like a little glimpse of an effort there to not share everything with Seth. And again, this is a common theme. It's a very common theme. And I think it's important to discuss it. You just don't know. Hey, Holly S., good to see you. Mama Bear, good to see you, Mama Bear. Mama says, hold on, let me see. She says, Google it, y'all. Literally, Google says school nights are on a Sunday through Thursday nights. That's right. And if you work through the work week, it carries over to adulthood. So, yeah, he was. I promise you guys, and I'm working on kind of getting some clips of that work together too. But there's just so much stuff coming out. But I will tell you, and you definitely go over to Justin's channel and watch his live from last night, and he was playing different excerpts from the audio, and he is just, and she takes the control and she's like, no, it's a school night, you big dummy, but yeah. Hey, Charlene, good to see you. Hey, Mama. Oh, hey, Baba Rose. Hope Floats, good to see you. I hope you guys are all having a happy Friday. It's Friday. Hey, Poppy Love, good to see you. Yeah, in my opinion, the PIs were sent from SF. Something is fishy. Holly S., that's a great point. That's it right there. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, SF had a relationship with one of the PIs, Chloe. And now, again, guys, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus like Heather, Chloe, no one, right? I don't want to do that. But I think it's important to discuss this. And I do remember that Holly S. said it's like there's an affiliation there, right? So in everything that we're seeing lately, another affiliation with the locals, right, would be, like Stephen Crabtree, for example, who was, basically saying that there was footage from Worshams. He was involved in the Worshams story, right? I hope I'm saying it right. Worshams. I think that's right. But either way, hey, Forget Me Not. So I think that that's something that, needs to be looked at. Again, I mean, all of these people that were kind of buddying up and being like, hey, I'll help you, Seth, I'll help you. Were they just trying to get information? It's just a question that I have and that I was thinking about, and I saw other people thinking about it as well. And we also kind of caught that little piece a while back, and I didn't catch it the first billion times, right? Because I played the audio from the lab. I did play that on my channel. So, way back when it came out, not right after it did, but it was, I've still played it around that time. But then when I re-listened to it not too long ago, we heard it again here. We kind of caught that little detail. So I think it's, it's something to examine, right? And then we also have the neighbors and the camera footage. That is really bothering me too. And we talked a little bit about that last night, but it's like there was another short that I saw with the neighbors and the camera footage, and how Chris and Katie were so worried about getting said camera footage, right, from the neighbors. But where is Sebastian? Where is he? They're not worried about that particularly, more worried about the camera footage, right? And trying to see which addresses had given up their camera footage, making sure to ask the neighbors to add that information in And there were local Facebook groups, and things like that in support of finding Sebastian, of course. I think a lot of people have good intentions. Definitely not saying that everybody is bad, or anybody that ever came to Seth to help had bad intentions. But the way that I saw Mr. Tony Mathis being attacked last night, in my opinion, was uncalled for. And it really is a mystery to me why he would be dragged through the mud at this juncture, because I know that he pretty much paid his dues, in my opinion, with all of us. And so, because we all side-eyed Tony, right, at a certain point, most of us did. But here's the thing. I think looking back in hindsight, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that Heather and Chloe didn't do a great job of reporting the knowledge that they found back to Seth, right? It was kind of like they were hiding things from him, as hindsight put it in her short today. They were absolutely optically hiding things from Seth, in my opinion. And it looked like they were working more closely with Chris and Katie. And it was very odd, the switch up, right? And then, so I think that had a lot to do with it, right? Um, and I think that whenever anybody is in a vulnerable situation, they are open to having people doing awful things to them, right? And taking advantage of their vulnerability, their situation. If people can see a way to kind of make a buck off of it, a lot of times they will. And again, when we look back at Tony, I've seen him prove himself time and time again. Because I'm with all of you. I want the best for Sebastian. I think, some of us, it's almost like no one's good enough for him. And I've said that before too. I really believe that, because we are just always side eyeing the situation, right? Is this person doing good for him? Is this person doing good, and saying and doing what they said they're going to do? I got a Mexican Coke for Chris while we talk about this. So, but we see a lot of deception too. And then I saw a comment. I can't remember if it was in one of my comments, guys, or someone else's. I'm sorry. I'm on information overload. I'm like looking at all kinds of different things, right? But I saw an interesting comment that somebody was talking about how it's very frustrating that law enforcement has not come out and given, and we did talk a little bit about that last night too, so I couldn't remember if it was in our live or another comment or chat or something. But law enforcement kind of hasn't given us enough details, and so we're just like going off of what the parents are saying online, what we're hearing, theories that we're kind of coming up with, right? What we can surmise, but we're kind of running on, very limited verifiable information from law enforcement. And I think that is something that is interesting, and that opens the door for a lot of deception to come in to play, right? Because it's like, who do you believe? Who do you trust? Who do you like most? Those are the people that you're going to go to for your information. Even myself, if you guys like me and you trust me, you're going to probably say, okay, well, Lady Freedom thinks this or something. It can happen, because if you listen to, somebody long enough. Fred Sanford, Soundcheck Cafe. That would be a good meme insert. Fred Sanford used to say, "You big dummy." That's probably where I got it from. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. I love Fred Sanford. He's hilarious. Those CC says those PIs turned out to be sketchy AF. I mean, and looking back, I mean, you're just wondering like, well, why didn't we get this information before? Or, it's very strange. And like I said, I saw that the Swiss cheese there, and I was like, there's a lot of holes in the story, right? There's a lot of holes in the story. Let's see here. What else did I have too for us? Oh, and just the local influence, right? Because then we have Cletus and Clue that are local influence. And even possibly influencers, right? Because we're online. Terry Lynn. We have let's see. I did mention Crabtree. A UA Crimson is another person that I'm not as familiar with. I'd have to kind of take a mulligan on that one because I have no idea, but I know she's somewhat local. Hi, Blessed, good to see you. Hey, Jen says, what would be the purpose of LE playing games like that with a missing autistic child? Did the whole town dislike him that much that they would all stay this silent for as long as they all, for this long when they all know? Yeah, I mean, that's a really great point. And I don't think it's like part of a larger conspiracy. I don't. But I do know that there is, I do know that there was an unconscious bias in the beginning, in my opinion. And I think it comes from the fact that, you come into a nice neighborhood, beautiful home, tidy. It's not, in shambles. I mean, gosh, I just saw a news flash about, children that were found in a home that was caked in feces and urine, like on the walls and stuff. And I think that was on Smiley's. So these are the environments that the police sometimes find them. Well, more often than not, they find themselves in these homes where there is extreme neglect, abuse. I don't even know if I could call it uncleanliness because it's like a whole nother level, right? Where it's like you literally are letting these children live in this. And we hear about that a lot, right? We hear about it every day. Maybe multiple times a day if we follow true crime, that kids are being found in fecal matter, whether it's from the dogs, the humans. I don't really give a shit what kind of shit it is. They're living in shit, literally, and nobody's cleaning after them. No one's teaching them to clean up or anything like that. They just let them live in this filth, and it's disgusting. But I think that was why we saw Eric Craddock kind of giving them maybe more of, I don't want to go as far as to say special treatment, but I do want to say that there was an unconscious bias, in my opinion, to where they were thinking, okay, this young man, autistic, right, missing autistic child, may have wandered away, right? Because I believe that Chris and Katie were pushing that narrative, and they were still pushing that narrative into a year, the year anniversary of Sebastian going missing, when they did the latest interview with Holly Thompson. They still maintain that he just walked off, right? But there's no camera footage of that. It's not like Sebastian's gonna be able to. Well, and then also it brings me back to the 3 a.m. lights, right? The 3 a.m. flashlight video. Somebody went back to the house. People left the house and they went back to the house. I mean, So no, I don't think it's a larger conspiracy, but I do think that of course, in life, many times there'll be like instances where one thing happens and then another thing happens and then another thing happens. Do I think that there is a very strong effort by Chris and Katie Absolutely. And why is because of the holes in their story. Right down there. The holes in their story. Every story they tell. The phone call is a doozy. I mean, the phone call tells us everything that we need to know. Again, especially listening to the Dateline interview. And I read it out for you guys. If you want to just go over there and listen to me read it, you can, pop it on, and it's like, I think it's 10 minutes. And, you can hear what Katie has said, direct quotes from Craddock, things like that. But yeah, and then the no loyalty thing too, because it seems like there are people infiltrating, and I hate to use like such a grand word for it, right? Infiltrate. We think of like a spy movie where like, dun 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 dun, and then it goes down or whatever, and dun dun dun. No, I don't think it's that bad either. I think it's more of an effort by the people that have done something horrible. There would only be one reason why somebody would try to cover their tracks so well, in my opinion. So, and again, this is all alleged, and my brain spewing it out to you all. Hey Deanna, good to see you. Hey Robini. Well, Cece, he was attacked in Julie's. Julie was going on and on and on. They were trying to get a hold of her. I watched it today. My assessment, they were trying to get a hold of her, and tell her like, whoa, like, what are you doing? Like, let us talk and, help you out a little bit. And she wasn't having it. She was playing a game because like, oh, you guys didn't want to talk to me before. No, I'm doing my live. I'm not answering for nobody. You guys, if you have an emergency, call 911. I mean, it was a whole deal. Very vindictive behavior, in my opinion. And that's not to bash anybody. It was just my perception of the situation that happened, right? And since it wants to be, since we should do this all publicly, then obviously it's open for everybody to speak on. But in my opinion, yeah, Cece, they were, all of a sudden, people are saying that they're gonna go to everybody's families and go through everybody's family's records and put them on the interweb. Like anybody gives a flying fuck to see them. Like, please, does anybody give a fuck? Because I don't want to see anybody's family history unless there's a missing child involved, or I think they've done something dirty or corrupt, right? When I was researching for Crystal's case, you're damn right I looked up Chuck Harris. You're damn right I looked up Deputy Irby. You're absolutely right I looked up Scott Matthews. All public information, all free to talk about. But when you're going to talk about going after these people's family members, like, should I go after Alan Irby's aunt? I don't fucking think so. That's crossing a line, and it's disgusting. And you should be ashamed of yourself. And it's harassment, honestly. If you want to get down to it, that is harassment. To go after people's family members and go after their financial business? Dude, how sick and twisted are these people online? Please go watch the anti-bullying video. Please. So you can realize how you're acting like children. Cal Gal says, I must have really missed something last night. There was a lot going on, Cal Gal. That's why I can't hardly keep up with it. I'm trying to make you guys videos so it's a little bit more digestible. But boy, oh boy, I just have to get up here and fire this up and run my mouth because it's just too much. I can't even make up clips of it. Yeah, it was awful, and I don't appreciate it. I think people getting attacked for deciding, and then there's the other side of that too. We as creators and people do decide which people that we want to work with, right, or support. So we all have that right to do that, right? So why are people being attacked for it? Why is it going real life? Anyone? Please help me out, because I feel like, I feel like dumb over here. Hindsight 2002 says, unlike most cases, this case has so many pieces that we can keep referring back to and still find new things in them. I agree with that 100,000%. 100,000%. We have to. If we want to find Sebastian, we have to keep going back through and analyzing it and reinterpreting what we already analyzed. Because now that we can see things in hindsight, which, no pun intended, this was not planned, everyone, but perfect timing. If we look back in hindsight, then we can see clearly that these things are a pattern, right? Because you can't see the pattern when you're in the pattern. You have to wait until it's, run its course a little bit, and then you can go back and re-examine and look and be like, wow, okay, so there's all this information that is being given to other sources, but not given to who needs to have it. That, in my opinion, is impeding an investigation. That's by definition impeding the investigation. You're playing games. You're engaging in fuckery. But why? Hi, Kai Kai. I'm sorry if I didn't say it right, or is it Kiki? Hey, Kiki. Sorry if I did not say that right. Town Chat Cafe says, so apparently it has been said a vehicle came in on Kellen, turned left on Stafford, and parked at the corner and stayed there for 3 to 5 minutes, then backed out and left. Yeah, Town Chat Cafe, it has been said that there was a vehicle that came in on the night in question when Sebastian poof disappeared right out of his home, and it came into the neighborhood, and then it went down Kellen, turned around, came back on to Kellen, turned onto Stafford a little bit, tripped off the motion sensor light on the corner home, which was the one that caught the surveillance of the situation. The car sat there long enough for that motion sensor light to kick off. And then whenever there was motion again from the car that was sitting there on Stafford, the motion sensor light kicked back on again. The car came back, pulled back onto Stafford, and drove back out on Kellen, which is how you would get out of the neighborhood. So I hope I did a good job of explaining that, and hopefully you guys can visualize that. Mob Crew does a fantastic job of illustrating this, so definitely go over to his channel. Mods, if you guys don't mind dropping, please drop Justin's link, Josh's link, and Mob Crew's link, please, because I have mentioned all of them. In hindsight, please drop your link as well. Brenda Sue, good to see you, Brenda Sue. Brenda Sue says, oh my goodness, I usually don't go and watch Clue. They're on live right now, and you cannot believe the stuff that's coming out of Cleese's mouth snout. Brittany J. Ugh. No, I know. No, it's okay, Brenda. The drama is just, at an all-time record high. If we ever thought that it was never going to get worse, here we are. Yeah, it's disgusting. They're pigs. I agree with the snout comment. It's just sickening the way that you would, dogpile on a person, and it's just sick. All in the name of Proudfoot, though, which brings us back to the subject of what we're talking about. All in the name of Proudfoot, all in the name of Katie. You got people sitting behind them in court, sitting beside them, sitting in going to lunch, doing things like that, so they're choosing who they would like to support. And, ultimately it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And so again, I don't know why the level of, evil and horrible, it's just horrible. it's just very horrible. Because you just don't go to that level, right? You maintain your composure and you act like a human being. And especially for men to sit there and talk about a woman that way, it absolutely makes me sick. And I'm sorry for all you men in here. James Coover, we love you. All of our guys in here. Napanoch Father, if you're in here. If you're in the bushes, we love you. We got Forrest, our friend Forrest. There's good men out there. Hey, Calm Kitty. Thank you, Hindsight. Hey, Meow. Meow. Good to see you. Hey, Megan Els. Hey, Freebird. Good to see you. Hey, hey. Hey, Anna Marie. Hey, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Wait, what happened today and last night? No social media. Oh my goodness. That's that's how I feel. Oh, hey Seth. Hey Seth, how are you, Seth? Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. I hope you're having a good Friday. Yeah, I understand that. Hope Float. Hope Float says, my thing is what is bringing back up the past going to do to find Sebastian? Yeah, and I agree. I agree with that. I think in some instances it can be a good thing, right? If we go and re-examine, but like dredging up people's pasts and stuff like that, what does that have to do with anything? It really, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just kind of being hateful. So you know that there's that side of it. Hey, Angela. Hey, Tony. Oh, thank you so much. Absolutely, Tony. Yeah, for sure. There's no reason for it. We've all had to prove ourselves in this case, haven't we? So yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it's a lot of it has to do with we want to make sure we give the best to Sebastian. So that is a positive, right? That is a positive um, side of it. Oh, no worries, Lori. Don't be sorry. Thanks, Robini. Thank you so much for the green hearts. Yeah. Oh gosh, Seth says she's still going off. Continues to prove why I didn't care to deal with her. Yeah, that was the consensus that I got. It was just kind of like, and not getting ever to a point. It was just kind of ranting and raving about all kinds of different things. And we all have differences, and preferences. So it's really but it's hateful behavior, like, oh, if you're not going to work with me, then I'm going to publicly humiliate people that you care about and things like that. It's a really gross mentality, and honestly, I was shocked because um, you know, I enjoy listening to people who are knowledgeable about autism, and that was the reason why I was listening to a lot of Julie's content. But then I started to recognize there was a major disconnect um, between kind of her mission and how she wants to, go about achieving it, for lack of a better way to say it. Um, hey, Carrie Star. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. I'm tired of it too, Angela. And I'm just tired of everybody getting dragged. I mean, it's one thing to talk about or discuss a subject, but, to harp on it or to call people horrible, horrible names or threaten to go real life. I mean, all of it is just unnecessary and unnecessary stress. Um, flag on the play, unnecessary roughness. Vana says, I'm at a loss here. Are we talking about Julie? What did she do? I mean, she put up a live last night, And, you know, it really speaks for itself. It's fine. It's one thing if you want to be upset about something and talk about it on your platform, right? We all can do that as creators. We can talk about things that bother us or whatever. We can come up here and talk about whatever we want within reason, I guess, as creators. But what I didn't like was threatening people, and then when there was, clear wording in the chat from people, from chatters saying, look, Seth's trying to get a hold of you, Tony's trying to get a hold of you, they're trying to smooth this over, talk with you. She was just no, 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 no. I'm, it's playing games. You're playing games at that point. That, in my opinion, people working hard to find Sebastian, they don't have time to play those games with her. No. So I wouldn't work with them either. I wouldn't work with her either. Sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. Everybody has something to bring to the table. We all have something good to bring to the table. But when you're, again, sucking up time for your own agenda, I mean, what is that accomplishing to find Sebastian? Because I heard her ask that question last night. And what do I think? I mean, I think all of you that follow me regularly or who have watched previous lives know what I feel about the RICO filing and the crap that the other side over there, and I will call them the other side because I don't want nothing to do with them, has been pulling. And that's what we're kind of talking about more about tonight. But they've been pulling a lot of that crap to distract, to cause problems, to stir the pot, to make divides where there shouldn't be one. They've done that the whole entire time. They've even gone so far as to pretend to work. Oh, we want to work with you. We want to work together. And then they shit all over it. It's really frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. And the way I saw that last night was just like, who the hell are you to do that? To steal time up? No, I'm going to get done with what I was doing. Yeah, you were going to get back to your own agenda instead of, giving somebody the courtesy and respect of having them up on your panel when they're calling you and you know that it's them. Because she was pretending like she didn't know, and, oh, someone's calling me from this number. I mean, talk about trying to get clicks and views. I don't care whether she's monetized or not. That doesn't make you a saint, and especially when you're acting like that, Blessed. Everybody has to chill out and have a Mexican Coke. Yeah, I have a Mexican Coke for Chris tonight. You can find these all over down here. So, there's that. Robini. Just Irish. That doesn't surprise me. And then, and then the one funny part about her live was that, Al owes everyone an apology, which I thought it was hilarious. I feel so bad for Al. He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy. Megan also says, sadly, in my opinion, I don't think Julie is all there. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at your comment, Meg. I was laughing at Seth. No, yeah. Not all there is one thing. It was just, more incoherent ramblings and things like that. And it's like, there's what's the point of it? Because somebody didn't want to work, Thank you, Holly. Yeah, there's really no words for the malicious, the maliciousness, because we don't even have to search for intent on this one. I mean, it's definitely malicious, and it's meant to embarrass, discredit, and demoralize people. She talks about somebody being condescending. Pot kettle. Yeah, Angela, I think so too. Like I said, people have proven, there's a lot of good people that she was bashing last night. I was just sorry, Tony. I was using you as an example. He's not the only one, and I'm not going to go over the list of people. Hell, unless you want me to, I will say it. Because I think it needs to be said. But in the same way, I don't want to pull anybody in or embarrass them further. By the way, Julie, I don't want to further embarrass anybody because it's not right. Because you wouldn't like it done to you. You sat there and cried and cried and cried and cried on all these lives, and now you're basically doing the same thing to someone else. I mean, come on. I think you owe people an apology. As a matter of fact, I know our Tony Fire is not in here because he lives out of country. But I'm going to tell you right now, Tony Fire was also pulled into this mess, and he is a member of our community. I see him in Josh's. I see him over. Clutch Some Pearls with Justin. I see Tony Fire in here. He's our community member. And everyone's saying, that's Tony Mathis. She spread that rumor. I've yet to see her apologize. But then she's cracking me up over here telling Al he's got to apologize for something. And I'm like, what are you doing? Hey, couponing, super sleuth. Aw, thanks, Charlene. It destroys my energy too. Calm Kitty says, I don't listen to the creators that are vile, obnoxious, and haters. Can't take it. Destroys my energy. For real, it does me too. I listened the other morning I started off with some coffee, and I never do that. I always wait, and I did. And it was, yeah, I paid dearly for it. I was zonked out for a bit, mentally. So, Cece says Julie's unstable. Yeah, that was my take on it too. It was very well, and it's very peculiar behavior to me when, like, just for instance, like, I don't have service on this other phone. I just use it to, like, play stuff for you guys, look stuff up when we're up here because I use my phone to stream. But if Seth had been calling me, whatever, right? And people in the chat are like, hey, lady, or I'd get a text from somebody, hey, Seth's trying to get a hold of you. I would respectfully either stop the live or put him on speakerphone and talk with him. What is she having to hide that she couldn't just do that? Or was she just enjoying toying with Seth? Was she's enjoying toying with him? Eating his time up? I mean, I would hate to think that that's what she was doing. I would really hate to think that, because that sounds kind of more mean than what I was thinking what she was doing. Not so. You're hilarious. Megan Nels goes cuckoo nutso. Oh my goodness, you cracked me up, girl. Well, and Rob Beanie, what really is important is, in my opinion, what the most important thing that we should be focused on is that phone call that Justin put out. Like, honestly, that is what we should be focused in on, because those are Chris and Katie's words, what they're telling a private eye at that time, right? Justin said it was during whenever Web Sleuths had run, during that time, right? Because we had the interview. The first time Heather P.I. was introduced to me was on News Nation with Seth, right? And she was talking about the domino effect and about that there was issues in the relationship with Katie and Chris. And then there was, these phone calls there was a phone call after Web Sleuths where Chris was mad, right? Because Chloe said, there's a bunch of stuff that I could put out, but I'm not going to do that. So we know about that, right? And then at some point or another, and maybe if Seth's still in here, he can help us out, there was another phone call over the timeline details, right? Like what was going on Sunday, and they were going over the story, right? And Chris was right there, buddy. He could not let Katie get on that phone call by herself, could he? And I mean, he was answering questions for her. He's like, Texas Roadhouse. It was almost like he was playing a friggin' trivia game or something. Better answer before she does. Like, it was weird. It was weird. Carrie Star says, I don't know why she's going after Tony. It doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. No, it's evil, in my opinion. Poppy Love says, do y'all think people report people saying things that are lies or inappropriate, or have I not been, or excuse me, or have not been? I get what you're saying, Poppy. I'm sorry. If there are reports, YouTube. Yeah, well, YouTube does have the rules, right? They got terms of service for us, YouTubers, YouTubists, YouTubists. So, we have to follow those. People can call us out and we can do a rebuttal, right? So if somebody, says, hey, Lady Freedom, you you put like sex content in your live or whatever, and then YouTube will go and review it, and then they'll give you an answer back, and they'll be like, yeah, you need to take it out, or take it down. You know what I mean? So yes, it can violate, but they are very lenient. And I will say it has to be pretty bad for them to take action, but it doesn't hurt to report because there's a paper trail. So I think it's important, Poppy, to do it. And, don't fill your guys' day with it, because it's not worth it. They're not worth it. They're not worth your time. They are not worth your time. We could be re-examining other things, in my opinion, Oh, they were? Holly S says, and the E's were in the ER with their son last night. Do people have no empathy? Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Okay. Oh boy. Well, I will be saying prayers for them. Wow. And they are very, very genuinely nice people. They are hilarious. They are so joyful to be around. And so, that was another thing that I'm going to smoke. That was another thing that was worrisome the other night, was that Julie was talking about Mr. and Mrs. E and their family as well, saying, are they really related to Nick the Hat? Why on earth is that any of her business? Why on earth is that any of her business? What's it to you, Julie? What's it to you? What's wrong with you? But say one little thing about Julie, and she's going to cry and act like the victim and retract everything, and poor me, and that's not right to do to me. Well, it's not right to do to anybody, Julie, and you wouldn't like it done to your brother, your sister, your family member. So why are you doing it to other people and terrorizing other people for clicks and views? Riddle me that. Just because somebody doesn't want to work with you, well, no freaking wonder. In Holly S, there's probably a lot of junk I haven't seen, I mean, good night. Lori says, Cece, I picked that up the first time I saw her, never went back. Well, and Lori, you're smart, because, I mean, I did enjoy listening to her, and I did enjoy, her putting up her videos of her and her husband cooking, because they would crack me up. They reminded me of like a little old couple. So I just thought it was cute, and I never thought anything ill of Julie before. But when I saw that, and I'm hearing this behavior that's going on as we speak, it's absolutely like, I should have handed out a friggin' barf bag for the show tonight. I mean, not to mention we have Sebastian still missing. We have no loyalty. We have people's holes in people's stories, people acting like, oh, it's no big deal. This is a big game. Oh, the father of the missing child's calling me and I'm talking shit up here. Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. No, I'm going to make him wait. He can wait until I'm done bashing him and then I'll maybe talk to him. I mean, come on. What kind of power play and bullshit are you trying to exert over other people? You know? Um, See, Taylor says, I just don't get it. What's the purpose of all the crazy? This is about a missing teen Sebastian. Exactly, see, Taylor. Exactly. You know? Um, I saw Mom Ended Up. Let's praise a good creator. Um, Mom Ended Up posted a really great video. I reposted it on my community wall, so go over there and watch her. She does a really great job of, some key facts to remember and to kind of go over. And, you know, I have to tell you, she took a picture of the billboard, a new billboard that was up around their area. She's also local. And, God love her for it, because those are the things that we need to be seeing happening. That's the things that are going to make us feel better. Those are the things that are going to motivate us. Those are the things that are going to make us want to keep going, together. Um, because we do have to unite. We have no other choice but to do that, because these people are uniting against a cause, against a goal of finding Sebastian, in my opinion. And it seems like it's been an effort from the beginning. Creators getting upset. Oh, well, they don't want to work. Well, maybe they can't talk to 5 billion people, as much as maybe they want to. But that's not a reason to hate them or to turn on them. Or to make up ugly statements about them or their family members, or start looking into their family members. What the family members have to do with anything? The sneaky, hateful people are super dangerous, Holly S. I agree. You're welcome. You're welcome, James. Of course. I always want to say what, when there's good guys and stuff like that, because I know it's a lot of us ladies over here, but it's always nice too, to have the good people. Thank you. Wait, what? Thank you so much. Seth says she thinks that Tony controls who I associate with when it comes to keeping Sebastian's name and face out here. Yeah, I noticed that too, Seth. Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, that's absolutely bonkers to me. You have Tony as a spokesperson that helps you, to my understanding, and it's always been from the beginning, and you've always been clear about that you're in control of your own self, as we all are. Nobody can force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. You know, I say that within reason, of course, but for all intents and purposes in this context, I don't understand why she thought that or why she thinks that. Um, because there's nothing farther from the truth. I mean, you know, well, and also I think it is also kind of disheartening just knowing that, people can be attacked just because somebody doesn't feel like they're getting enough attention. And that's about the saddest shit. Is that because she's not getting enough attention. Hey, Jay-Z, the definition of Munchausen syndrome, says Jay-Z. Poppy Love says there seems to be obviously too much done that's not only morally wrong, but goes up against YouTube rules, and maybe more need to be reported. Yeah, I mean, I think the more reports that go in, the more that action will be taken. And I think it's about reporting it for the exact right thing. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we're frustrated and we might be like, damn it, I'll report them for everything. But, making sure that it is something that violates the terms of service. And then that way, or whatever it is. I mean, you're not allowed to harass people, bully people. You're not allowed to share people's images without their, expressed permission in certain instances. Now, of course, when there's court footage and things like that, that's out there. That's a bit different. A lot of people do report out of spite. I will mention that just as a, a caveat, because that does happen, but yeah, just making sure it's for, a legit reason, because, that's right. Hindsight. I mean, come on. The only one who controls you is God, Seth. Yes. Amen. Amen. And yourself, and that's why, God gives us our brains and we use our free will. And, I mean, absolutely. Thank you, hindsight. Thank you. Thank you. That's damn right, Angela. Seth, bottom line, it's none of anyone's business who you work with. What the hell do they care? Except for that they're jealous that you don't want to work with them. And I'm saying that in, I shouldn't say it so blunt, but, I mean, come on. It's what it boils down to. I know, James. Well, and that's the thing, I don't know. And I tried to do the anti-bullying video. I know I'm a little bit silly. You guys probably don't take me seriously. But I mean, I'm for real with that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Crochet, hi Crochet. You're going to bed. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming over. Thank you so much. I know, bankrupt. Who cares if somebody has a bankruptcy, Crochet? I agree with that. That's freaking ridiculous. Who cares? They just want to embarrass somebody. Oh wow, they had financial difficulties. Oh God. Bunch of jerks. Absolutely, Crochet. And Tony Mathis, my sincere condolences for your loss. And by the way, I never knew that either. You know? Disgusting. You want to drudge people's friggin' trauma up because you think you're cool, because you want people to view you, you want to stir some shit up, you want to stir up the drama, drudge that fucking, I'm sorry, that trauma? What the hell's wrong with you? How would you like it done to you? And how dare you? So I hope you're happy with yourself. Should be ashamed of yourself. And I do not like to shame people. Thank you, Meg, for dropping our buddy Justin. Hey, Mama Cedar Street. I'm so sick of the double standard BS. Sumner County Sheriff's Office and Mama Warbucks have let this POS get away with this shit for far too long, in my opinion. Amen. Amen. And I try to stay neutral about the law enforcement thing, and I've been trying to keep up the faith and things like that. But, there's a lot of people asking questions. There's a lot of people asking questions. I heard Maman asking the question today. What's up, law enforcement? You gonna allow this? We gonna let this shit go out on spill out of the courthouse like everybody said it did? Allegedly. Come on, we gotta do something. Thank you, Meg, for dropping our friend Josh at the lab. Hey, Shadow. I mean, it's enough to just get anybody's panties in a twist. And prayers for Chris at Mob Crew too. He's been out sick, and it's like people need to really realize that YouTube isn't everything. There is real life. There are real situations. There are real problems in the world without creating bullshit on the streets. But we all know who likes to perpetuate that bullshit. And in my opinion, it's Chris and Katie, because if the bullshit is stirring, then no one's looking at them. So just causing a huge diversion, distraction, deflecting away from themselves, Aw, Poppy, exactly. Poppy says, hi, Seth and Tony. I'm so sorry for the hurtful things that have been happening to each of you. I've I've been very disappointed about the things going on, which had nothing to do with finding Sebastian. It has everything to do with attacking the people who are talking about Sebastian, who are trying to get the information out there, who are trying to stop the crap so that Seth can have more opportunities to work with more professional people, because it detours good people when there's drama involved. They don't want a part of it because they're good people. I understand that it's interesting for some people to watch, right? Blame it on reality TV, whatever. But there's plenty of that shit out there, that manufactured drama. Go back to that community. There's no place for it in true crime. Get out. Like, for real. I don't even care if I'm the newbie. Get out. Like, there's no place for it here. Oh, we're going to go look up everybody's past and put it all out there. What the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously. Seriously. The trolls, of course, of course. Hey, Steph. Yeah, of course, Cece. The trolls are in full swing. I hope they were, whacking a troll left and right. Hey, Lainey. Thank you for being here. That's the only goal for them, Bobby. The only goal. It's the only goal. Aw, new addition. Yeah. Yeah, I am Two Bear says they're not true crime channels, they're drama that profits off of missing children and bashing hater creators. Yeah. Yeah, and I never realized that that was a thing, right? But whenever I was doing my research, um when I was off, because I had somebody calling my phone and calling my phone and calling my phone, so I couldn't really go live because they were like harassing me. Um whenever that was happening, I was able to take a step back and really look into these other little drama communities that have spilled into the true crime community. And I even heard from somebody else that was asking, you know, to take a case, and asked, one of these hate channels, and they're like, "Oh no, I'm Krama. I'm not really true crime." But yet you're pulling Sebastian into your Krama. For what? There's no place for it. Really, there's no place for it, because the true crime sector is the one that examines what's going on in a case and tries to figure out what's going on. You guys just want to stir the pot and spread lies about the family. Doesn't matter if they're true or not. It doesn't matter if you get the right information or not. You just blast it all over the place. And because it makes you feel good inside because you're a miserable fuck. Oh, thank you, Time Chat Cafe, for becoming a member. Thank you. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm always so behind in chat. Oh my God. All right. Hey, Rogue. What's up, Rogue? Okay, I'm just going to drop down, guys. I'm sorry about that. I lost my place, but it's probably a good thing because I'm way behind. Hey, Gigi. Good to see you. Oh, no, I don't want to share that link. Sorry, it's giving me a referral link. That's right. Yeah, and please, guys, by all means, if there are trolls in here, mods, please, I have the best mods ever. Please just whack a troll. If you get blocked and you feel like you were unrightfully blocked, email me and we'll look at it, but not tonight. I'm not gonna play that tonight. Gina, good to see you. Juliana, the podcast Fruit Loops of America. Oh my goodness. Just so many parodies. I will say that. That's a positive, right? A lot of parodies can be done. Brenda Sue says Cletus just called Brittany J the B word and the C word. Oh. See, she's not any of those things, by the way. Hey Tracy. Charlene, my dad's always told me if you can't say something nice about a person, don't say nothing. And and that's it. That's one of the things that I mean, I've reserved to that a lot. And it is the best practice. It is. Hey, hey Napanoch father. Good to see you. I shouted you out earlier. I didn't know if he was in here or not. Yeah. It's a valid concern. It's a valid concern. Carrie, let me go back to your post. Sorry. I read it really quick, but I didn't. Carrie says, I worry that I have a local code of honor. I worry that they have a local code of honor thing. That, sorry, I popped it back up here. I wanted to pop it up there. There we go. I worry that they have a local code of honor thing going in that county. I have had my doubts about them and hope they aren't just stringing Seth along, and they're really going after the guilty parties. Yeah, well, and just another thing too, a lot of the research that I did, these community members and mods and things have followed each other around through these other, drama communities, on YouTube. There's all kinds of different, um, types of, content creators and things like that. But they've definitely, brought a lot of them into the true crime sector, and then we're seeing this play out, in real life. But when it comes to the local code of honor, I do believe that there is a good old boy system in place, and that trumps, everything. And I will say that I do think that they are being handled a lot differently than, say, you or I would if we were in the similar situation, or maybe even the exact same situation. They're handling the local authorities who have jurisdiction, in my opinion, have been handling Chris and Katie with, little kid gloves, and maybe even this whole case that way, because of who the Proud Feet are in the community, or the Foot Clan, if you will, because it goes deeper, especially when we hear accounts of, Terry Bowersox having a lot of friends in the police force, the Navy connections, all of those connections. I don't think they should be overlooked, because, there's hardly many coincidences just in life in general, right? I mean, we have them, but sometimes they lead to more. And James says, don't always get treated the same in return. Yeah, well, and that's what's frustrating for a lot of people, is when they do the right thing and they're not treated with the same respect. Yeah, because in my opinion, in the same way, I just don't think, I think the disrespect was off the chains, off the hook. I'm sure it's still transpiring as we speak, and I don't know. It's absolutely uncalled for. Sorry, guys. Oh, I didn't know you went, Meg. I'm sorry. I was really back in chat. I don't care to say Tennessee law enforcement, especially in Sumner County, are corrupt as hell. Google corruption in Sumner County, and Gallatin is linked to it as well. Rogue, absolutely. And I didn't have a chance to go watch the CNY family, but I will say that, I showed some of her content and she was bringing up some of that corruption. And, I would have to agree with your statement there. I can't argue with it for sure. Thank you, Gina, for being here. Okay, sorry guys. Oh, okay. Sorry, I wanted to read that comment. Well, thank you we love having you in here too, Scorpio One. So glad to be here. Aw, we're glad to have you here. Thank you. Thank you, Cinderella. Oh, sorry guys. I did not mean to drop that link in there. There's this button that popped up and I don't know if I press something to make it pop up, but it won't go away. Yeah, a lot of it is like an AI thing too, Holly, because I feel like YouTube is mostly AI now. So maybe when people report channels, the report goes nowhere. Yeah, I mean, you wonder if you do get a human review on things, or if it just kind of like scans through, right? Yeah, using AI to find like keywords or, things like that. That's a great point. Can a master moderator find out why I can't see Seth and Tony in the chat, please? I feel like crazy crap is happening with trolls. Oh, yeah. I'll have to ask Jude and see. But yes, I will find out, or I'll just go into the back office like after the live and find out. That's weird. I don't know. That's weird, Rogue. I might have to do some research on how to fix it. We'll see. Town Chat Cafe. Yeah, miserable people. The crabs in the bucket, guys. I'm telling you, it's the crabs in the bucket. They just keep pulling each other down. They'll never get out because, they just keep pulling each other down. One little crab tries to get up and the other one just, hell no, you're staying down here in this misery. Like, it's just the way it is, You can't either? On no other channels, Baba Rose? Huh, that's weird. Huh. I can't see Tony and Seth right now, but they may not be in it. Holly S. I don't know why this won't work. Is it plugged in? Calm Kitty says, I question the people that watch those channels. Wow, the energy is horrendous. Well, it's just like, that's how you want to spend your Friday night. Like, I don't know. I think there's so much better ways to spend your time, than to sit there and just bash somebody else. It's really hard to get up here, guys. It's not easy to get up here, It's not easy to get up here. It's not easy to find topics to discuss that are interesting. It's not easy to, put together a video or, you put a piece of yourself into it. So that's what I don't understand with a lot of these, quote unquote creators. Oh, really? Plus JS called Detective Carter's boss on her live. Oh my God, Gina, that's off again. Like, yeah. What did Meg say? Cuckoo nutso. Cuckoo nutso behavior, Thank you, Freebird. Carrie Star says, I can imagine, but sometimes put out nice little nuggets of truth in these chats and stuff. Yeah, that's so true, Carrie. And that's one thing to always like, that I always kind of look out for too. And I could always go through the chats as well. I leave all the chats on, so anything that's said in here is documented. When we were talking about that movie, The Program, right? Well, it's not a movie; it's a documentary. It's a 3-part documentary, but spoiler alert for anybody, but like at the end they like called this person because they had all the documents and stuff that they had found, and they were finding the people that they belonged to and seeing if they wanted them, and the people were like, no, we don't want them, you can burn them or whatever, and they were having a bonfire and they like burned these records, and I was like, no, like, because my trauma, I keep everything. And I have digital copies of it. I have it on zip drives. And so to me, like, keeping it is of the utmost importance, just in case I need it, or just in case, somebody tries to say, oh yeah, this and this happened, I keep it. But they were like burning it. And I don't know if I was like jealous of that, like, gusto they had, that they could just burn the shit and forget about it. But, not me. I want several copies. I might even like do a time capsule and bury that shit somewhere, so in case somebody finds it later, like, that's how hardcore I am about documenting and keeping things. So yeah, people say a lot in the chats that, I don't catch everything. So hey, Miss Pris. And then of course, like, when we have people that have like thousands of people in their chat, how do they ever keep up with all of that too, So yeah, Holly says, I want to know, how long can they avoid being questioned if they have an attorney? I think it's pretty much just like the laundries, like, had their attorney. And so that's why the Petito Schmitz had to file, well, they chose to file the civil case, so that way they would all be deposed. Because, yeah, I mean, as long as they have a lawyer, everything goes through the lawyer. Well, in theory, as it should, right? If you're paying the lawyer, you should probably send all documentation over to be looked over, and all of that. Scorpio says, Lady Freedom, I agree. I don't blame Seth for getting rid of Heather and Chloe. They seem totally shady. Yeah, well, a lot of people. Okay, so a lot of people. Thanks, Scorpio one. A lot of people were saying that in the beginning, and I was like, why are they, being hateful to these two girls, right? I was like, they're just trying to help. And like, again, just kind of keeping with the spirit is, Seth has talked to them. I haven't, right? Seth is Sebastian's father, and he cares about his best interest, right? So of course I'm thinking, well, why is people side-eyeing, these girls? But then there was a lot of things that was going on too behind the scenes and things like that, we just didn't know about. And again, you can't see that pattern when you're in it. So whoever, called it right off the bat had a really good, like, a keen intuition, right? Because at first I was like, well, I kind of like Heather. She seems pretty straightforward. Those are the qualities that I look for in other people, is just somebody that's like a straight shooter, right? Because we don't have time for the nonsense, especially when we had so much in the case. And so I was like, okay, so there were some problems in the marriage, right? There was domino effect. There was a sequence of events, right? She was kind of painting this picture. So I was kind of, okay, figuring it out. But then kind of in hindsight, we see that there was shady behavior, right? Or maybe even trying to get information. I mean, man, it's crazy to think about somebody cozying up to you. I mean, and again, this is just my theory and just something to talk about, a subject, right? A focus, because we're noticing it, right? And then there's chatter about it, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's going back to that. Now this new phone call coming out, we're listening here. It makes you curious to wonder, were they Freebird the Foot Clan, were they infiltrating the situation to begin with, right? And then also Chris was saying that he wanted to work with Seth. He came to the vigil and he said, I want us to work together, but tell the public to, that we're all working together and stop, like, because all they've been concerned about, in my opinion, from the beginning, is their reputation in the community, what the community members are saying, what the YouTubers are saying, what the YouTube community is saying. So, the whole public opinion, right? Court of public opinion that we talk about here. Um, you know, Freebird, the Foot Clan. We got to come up with creative names, because then they get upset and they're like, oh, well, they're hashtagging me. And it's like, well, I mean, don't you want us to use, and then that's another form of gaslighting that we've seen, right? Because then we have creators too. I heard one person say the other day, like, that is so, or I think it was Julie. She's like, that's so horrible to call them, KK and Edgar or whatever. But it's like, yeah, but look, if we sit there and say their actual names, then they get upset with us and they say, oh, yeah, they're saying our names, and so then that can be a reason they can act like a victim. You know what I mean? And so you have to just be ultra careful, right? Because don't get me wrong, I don't want to disrespect these people like that and be like calling them out of their name, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the point of doing that. That's not the intent or, the reason for it. It's because these people are literally turning it around, flipping the script and being like, oh, these people are calling me out by my name. It's like, okay, well then we'll call you KK and Edgar. We will call you the Foot Clan. We will call you Stepfoot. I call Katie most of the time, because that is Sebastian's mother, but, I can't help but think that Cruella is a fitting name for Chris's mom. I mean, I'm sorry, but we've not seen her say anything nice at all, especially towards poor Nina. Poor Nina. Thank you so much, Freebird, for gifting 5 Lady Freedom memberships. I really appreciate you, and thank you so much. And if you get a Lady Freebird membership, please thank Freebird, and welcome to the Dragon Tribe. All right, let's see. Oh, couponing. Oh, Rogue. Sorry, guys. Calm Kitty says a person who talked to FBI about a tip. Oh, a person. Oh, sorry. I probably didn't read the other comment up there. Meg says, if it weren't for Seth, nobody would know Sebastian is missing. He would have been called a runaway and it had been kept quiet. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, and if the public never put any pressure on the situation either, then we would have had Chris getting away with, a lot of the other stuff that Seth didn't even know about, like belting Sebastian for punishments and things like that. So it's definitely important to understand that, Seth is not the problem here. I will just say that, in my opinion, Seth is not the problem. Holly S says, in my opinion, they may just be lazy. A lot of it has to do with that. It's very easy. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I just clicked that button. It's very easy to sit back and just, bash somebody else. It's really hard to come up with like your own creation or, take something and transform it, make it your own kind of a thing. It's very difficult to do that. It's very easy to just sit back and, be a jerk, all day, get, HIGH, and just sit there and, act like a jerk. Carrie Starr says, even the DA and Sumner County commissioners, etc., LE judges all have articles on corruption there. Yeah, Carrie Starr. That is a great point, and that's something that's undeniable, right? You know what I mean? I mean, that's not so-called bashing anybody. There's proof of this, I mean, it is what it is, but they want to say, oh, well, why would you bash law enforcement? That's not bashing law enforcement. That's accountability. There's a big difference. Rogue says, I have to agree with that at this point. Yeah, in the case. Yeah, heartbreaking, Rogue says. Brenda Sue says, I believe they didn't think Seth was going to go this far. Well, they had another thing coming because that man wants his son found. Absolutely. And I don't think they thought that the public would be so involved either. I mean, I really don't. I mean, obviously Chris even said that, he's like, we never thought it would get this big, and it's like, well, think again, and Bobby says praying they aren't playing Seth, but I feel like they may be getting nervous about all the attention Sebastian has been able to bring to Seth has been able to bring to Sebastian's case. That's a great point, Bobby. And, I think that's where there's always going to be these people, because I mean, for all intents and purposes, they seem relentless at it. Like they're never going to stop doing it. Right. So there's these people that are absolutely getting nervous, don't want the attention, don't want us to keep talking about it. Right. They just want us to shut up about it. They want us to accept that Sebastian poof disappeared, and they want us to shut up about it. They just want us to shut up about it. And that motivates me to speak louder about it. It really does, because that just shows ill intent, in my opinion. And Carrie Star says, yes, thank God for Seth fighting for Sebastian. Amen. We don't see that in every every missing child's case, like little Summer Wells. We don't see it everywhere. We see parents that some of them are so distraught that they can't even get out of bed. But Seth gets out of bed and he keeps going and he keeps fighting. And then they want to tear him down, and then he's got to build himself back up, dust himself off, get back on the horse again. Why, what is the point of forcing him to keep dusting himself off? What is the point besides somebody that is a sick, twisted individual? That's the only person that does something like that. The only person who does something like that is a sick, twisted individual who gets off on hurting other people, mainly the father of a missing child. I mean, I even saw some nonsense today where people were playing what Seth said and saying, oh, how horrible, and not even playing Chris's part in it. And I'm like, dang it, I should have got that video out, because it's bull. It's bull. If you're going to play one part of it, play what triggered it, please. Please. Otherwise, you're not being real. That's not fair, honestly. Because the entire time that I was playing Seth on Josh, when he was on Josh's live, blowing off some steam, in my opinion, I didn't hear the part where Chris was blowing off some steam. And I kept saying that too. Hey, look, I don't know what was said, so I can't really speculate too much on what Chris, because people were telling me in the comments. But to just flat out play only one part of it, that is one-sided bias, in my opinion, reporting. And it's only meant to harm. It's not meant to help, because if it's meant to help, then you're going to be fair and honest and play both parents crap. No offense, Seth. But, you're going to play both of them. And not just sit back and say, oh, I can't believe this guy over here. Well, yeah, because you have no idea. It doesn't even make sense to the audience, And I played it ass backwards myself. So I'm not hating. I'm not throwing shade. But what I'm trying to say is that you can't just play one piece of something and then say, oh, look, you have no point. You don't have a leg to stand on, And I see that crap all the time on here. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. You can't see Seth either, Lori? I don't think he's in here anymore. I really don't. I think he'll come in and say hello. Napinudge Father says, I still can't believe we are this far along without any answers about this case. what happened to Sebastian, just super frustrating. It is super frustrating. And it's like, you know, I really thought we would have found him, I was thinking around like the 6 and 7 month mark coming into Christmas. I was like, oh my gosh, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. But it's just super frustrating because here we are. It's Easter. It's Easter again, and I just can't imagine Seth's grief, his feelings, how, just every single day going through it. And then seeing the people, because I remember Seth talking to Pascal, and he looked exhausted, and he was sitting on his couch, or maybe he was sitting in his chair, and he said, I have searchers out there that I have to make sure that they're okay. So he's worrying about the searchers. And this is, when Sebastian first went missing, right? Or in the beginning of all of this, right? We're 14 months now. But in the very beginning of this, and because there were people being threatened, and then Seth, of course, as a good person, is going to have a sense of responsibility for the people who are out there supporting him, right? Because that's just human nature. It's just like, you know, um, if you're having a bad day, and you realize you overdrew your account, and you're trying to buy, some milk and some bread at the grocery store, and I pay your tab, you're going to be like, wow, that's a good person. Wow. Okay. Next time you see me at the store, you might try to pay my tab for me. Right. It's just human nature. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm over explaining. Yeah, they were in here earlier, guys. And, they may be having to try to, figure out what the hell is going on if people are acting bonkers on a Friday night, since there's just like nothing better to do. Nothing better to do on a Friday night. I'm drinking Mexican Coke, making fun of Chris over here. You got, foul language. But, I don't know if anybody is like overly shocked about Chloe and Cletus in their foul language, so um I'm certainly not. Um I think the Mexican Coke is better than American. I'll just say that. Rogue says, I think one of us is behind in chat, and that's why we're seeing him most recent. Oh, okay. I know I'm only a little bit behind in chat. Hey, Don B, good to see you. Don B says, I think people are trying to get popular off getting close to Seth, Chris, Katie, in my opinion. How weird is that? Like, that is whoops. That is such a good point. Like, well said. What the heck? It's not even about that, right? It's like you should be wanting to get more, I will say you should be wanting to get more accurate information from the parents, right? But don't be hating on the parents because that's not the person that they're going to or whatever. Like that is so strange to me. And I do think that there is a level of like, you know, I can't say starstruck, but you just said it very, very well, Don. You did. So just get popular. It's a popularity contest. But and it shouldn't be, and it should be like more like, okay, let's make sure we just give these people love and support, whichever people that we decide, right? Because we all get to decide that, you know. And he may have gone to bed, hindsight, exactly. I mean, I hope he's getting enough sleep, water, all that. You know what I mean? Those are the things that we think about too. Just because, a lot of times when you're going and going and going, you don't think to stop and take care of yourself. Um, you know, it just takes a little bit of compassion. Rogue says that was what I figured, Meg. I fell asleep and woke up late, and I'm so sorry. I rewatched last night's Ladies Live. Ozempic face. Resting Ozempic face. Oh, good Lord. Mhm. Yeah, maybe the election might motivate a few, Cece says. Aw, thanks for the green hearts. Lori, thank you. Hindsight says, hindsight says, lady, I'm the same way. Can't have too many backups. That is the truth. They're only the uh there's only one true answer and we all know. Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing, James, I mean, I am pretty open to other possibilities. There's some things that I feel like I can rule out, pretty fairly easily, but then I also don't ever want to like completely rule it out because then somebody may come in the chat and say something and I'll think, "Oh wow, okay, well, I didn't think of it that way," and I try not to ever think in complete absolutes either because I think that if we do that, we're like again closing off our minds, so but it's Calm Kitty says, I got one theory, KP knows. And I mean, it's hard not to keep going back to Katie, right? Because she is the one that was with Sebastian last. Hey Babs. Babs says if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. Exactly. That's why I was having extreme anxiety watching people, burn the records. Meg. I was like, I'll keep the records for you. I'll put them in my storage. Like don't do it for the love of God. That was so funny. Aw, thank you, Napanoch Father. Napanoch Father says, I really love your chat because it is not too big. You pretty much get to answer everybody's question and we all get a good time out of it. Aw, thank you. That's so sweet. And we can get some things out off your chest. Oh, and I can get some things off my chest and you can too, right? Exactly. Well, and that's the nice thing too, because it is important because there's a lot of anxiety. Like there was a post, um, hindsight, I think I reposted your post of it, but it was at night talking about how, basically they understand the public frustration, that there's a lot of anxiety around the case and that they're standing with us and things like that. And so I think that's so important to remember too, just to kind of be there for each other, right? Because it is tough. And like you were saying earlier too, Napanoch Father, it's so frustrating and sad, and we're like, why has there been no resolution? How come? A lot of people here lately too, I've been hearing a lot about people being like, how come they can't just charge with ABUSC, right? Our friend Sasha, she's like relentless with it, and I give her the utmost respect and credit for that because it's true. It's maddening when we think about that as an injustice. In the true crime community, that's what we stand for is, we stand up against injustice and we stand for justice. And so it's very difficult for us to reconcile that when we see this abuse level, we see that there's CPS reports, we see that there's documentation of therapy reports, and it's like, where's the police when you need them? And I again, I don't mean that to be like, don't back the blue, anti-police, nothing like that, because I think that many of those people that are in that field get into it to help people, like in order to help people. But then again, sometimes people like that power. And so that's where we find the corruption, right? It's just like a direct result of that. Like if you're only wearing that badge because, example, you were picked on or whatever in school and you wanted the power over everybody, and one day I'm going to have that power over people, that's negative, right? Already off the bat, not a good reason. But I think a lot of people that are in law enforcement, first responders, people like that, probably had a dream of doing that when they were little, right? Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a cop, I want to be a firefighter. And these are the people that we rely on, right, so much when we need them. And I think that's another thing that's really, kind of getting our spirits down a little bit, which we can't really let that happen, because we see this and then our brains automatically connect it to corruption, right? Like, why isn't anybody doing anything about this? It's almost like we're screaming, but no one's listening. And that can be super frustrating. Um, Carrie Starr says confusion was shown in the case from the start, intentionally by CP and KP, especially after the call with them and PI Heather. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that completely. I think it's been very intentional, strategic, and they sought out people locally that could and would back them up. And I think that there has been many of these people, some of which I don't have full proof of yet, but I'm working on it, that have more than likely inserted themselves on the opposite side of what they truly believe and led us all to believe that they were on the side of whichever, right? Because we don't see, for example, people going over and working with the Proud Feet and then deciding that they're going to come over and work with Seth. We do, however, see a pattern of many people doing this, right? And in my opinion, Julie included. Like, she's the latest casualty, right, in this bunch that we've seen. Her, Terry Lynn, and forgive me if I'm missing somebody. I don't know if what side Molly was on. I don't know. We'll lump her in there. No, I'm just kidding, Molly. But I mean, then we see that YouTuber too, who wasn't really too heavily involved, all of a sudden in there. But we don't see that happening on the other side. We don't see SF saying, "Hey, I'm going to come over here and be a PI for Seth." But we saw that with the PIs. We saw that with, recently with Terry Lynn, Julie, a crap ton of my mods that were Terry Lynn's mods that were a part of her community, right over to the Proud Feet, right over to the hate channels, right over to Krama. But a lot of those people were already Krama. Or, well, they were more like drama, bringing it into the true crime community. My apologies. I said that backwards. So, Calm Kitty, Chloe did work with SF, with SAR. So, the search and rescue. They were acquainted. Yes. Yeah. Which is unfortunate. And, and I think it was, part of, not the main reason for, but it's my speculation and to my knowledge that was part of a big blow up with the PIs, and Chloe not being a part. If you're not going to give somebody that's paying you information as a private investigator, I mean, let's just think about it like this. Say you have a child who's missing, or say you are suspecting something of even your husband or something like that, right? Or your wife, and you get a private investigator or an ex, right? And you're going to court and you get that private investigator. How would you feel if that private investigator that you hired was over there cozying up to the side that you were trying to find out information about? I mean, talk about betrayal. I mean, it's ultimate betrayal. Well, I think Heather was shady, Calm Kitty. I think that she, there's been a lot of questionable, even when she did the phone call with the so-called boss, right? And I have that one on my channel too. Justin has it over on his, the so-called boss, of Chris Proudfoot. And she's sitting over there, I hate these damn YouTubers, well, why do you hate us for? Because some of us saw right through your bull crap. I mean, come on, good on whoever did, Bab says, in my opinion, Ellie believed that the Proudfoots from the beginning, and they didn't want to admit they messed up this late in the game. I agree. That has a big part to it. Yeah. The ego, right? And we're seeing these ugly egos around, well, I'm going to solve the case now, and no, I can handle it, even though you didn't handle it. Well, I want to work with the dad. I don't know why nobody's calling me or talking to me. Well, look at the way you're acting. I mean, come on. Exactly, Meg, Heather, Chloe, SF, Trail. I mean, and we're not seeing that on, we're not seeing that on both sides here. So, like I'm saying, the only thing that we can surmise is that there's some shit fuck going on. Come on. And if there's not shit fuck going on, I will apologize. But I'm sorry. These latest rabbit holes and trails have been bringing me down, shit fuck lane lately. And it's I joke about it and I get up here and be silly, but I mean it's maddening. you know Rogue says, I found out last month I have oh no, oh goodness, oh Rogue, I'm so sorry. Oh girl, I don't even know what to. Can you get can you get like a surgery on it or something? NHGG, good to see you. She says, no idea who the gross bearded guy was, then realized he was with the fat liar and scammer glass houses, blasted so many people. I saw the pics. Yikes. Never mind all the harm she causes, in my opinion, vile. Oh, yeah, totally. Totally, totally, totally. Yeah, I'm not like, a clean beard is one thing, but like that whole, I mean, it's just like, ugh. I'm going to be nice and not say anything, but it's gross. It grosses me out. There's probably food. There's probably like a squirrel that fucking lives in there or something. Hey, Shelly. Bab says, sadly, people do it all the time, pretending to be your friend. Yeah, confidant, to just go against you, to just use it against you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, let me be, let me be your friend, and I'm gonna help you find your son, and I'm gonna be searching around, and I'm gonna pretend like I'm the martyr, and all of this stuff, while all the while, I'm telling people that your alibi doesn't check out, and pulling other people into it. The truth is always going to come out in the wash, so you might as well just tell it. Yeah, Charlene, a lot of people were saying that too. And I was like, well, private eye just means like they're a private investigator, like privately hired to investigate, right? But I do think that in this, that one lesson that we've learned, right? Thank you, Charlene, for your comment. One lesson that we've learned here is that, like, if you ever get a PI, don't ever let them come spill any beans or anything online, and definitely, beware of clout seekers, right? And people that are just trying to use you to get popularity, like Don was saying, because, like, to me, it's just better to stay off of social media, which I didn't think that at first. I was like, finally, somebody's going to give us some answers. Maybe we'll get some like clarity, and maybe some of the rumors will stop. But to the contrary, this person like stirred up more bullshit, and she was doing a lot of this shit behind the scenes, apparently. Which, I mean, I don't get it. Again, a child's case, thank you for your comment. Carrie Starr says they are still infusing chaos and confusion now intentionally. They have only been worried about their reputation from day one. Never heard 1 ounce of concern for Sebastian from the start. Amen, Carrie Starr. And we spoke about this last night too. Just, basically about how they want to keep everybody quiet. They are infusing, that is a great way to say it, infusing chaos and confusion, right? Order by chaos. They can control the situation if they're controlling that chaos, right? And then they're just watching, to see how it all plays out. It's just kind of like if somebody, if you're standing next to somebody and somebody goes up and taps them on the shoulder, they're going to look next to you and be like, what do you need? But that's what they're doing. They're like poking everybody, and everybody, what? And everybody's discombobulated. They don't know what the hell's going on. They sit back and they're like, that's hilarious. Look at these morons. They have a ball with it. Are you kidding me? They love it. They friggin' love it. You sit up there and dance around, dance with the devil, friggin' playing the banjo. Um, the hills have eyes, people looking like Sloth from the Goonies. James Coover says they should be arrested for abuse, interfering with the investigation, and the threats towards others' lives and even their children. Yeah, we heard that too. Yeah, Mr. Proudfoot himself, Mr. Stepfoot himself, was threatening to go real life on Brittany J's children. That's a real class act right there. He's a real nice guy, right? Instead letting them get away with all they do. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but I think local law enforcement needs to absolutely know about what Chris had incited, what he threatened to do to Brittany J's children. Because you better believe that if that was me, his ass would have a knock on the door that morning, and I would have made sure of it. Because I'll be damned if you're gonna sit there and threaten me in a public forum, and law enforcement isn't gonna pay you a visit, let alone my daughter. Like, how dare you? Like, there's no reason for it. It's like these fuckers are shameless. Cece says they were, because with Seth and played with his head when he was most vulnerable, just to play the Proudfoot's game. How sick is that? Yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And they honestly think that Seth isn't going to figure it out. And it's just hilarious that he does every time. I mean, that's right. That's the hysterical part about it, is because they're sitting there trying so damn hard, but everybody's like, no, 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 no. No, Seth wants to find his son. And there's a lot of people, there is a lot of support and love out there for Seth, and I just always want him to remember that, because we know who truly wants to find Sebastian, who doesn't. It's very apparent. It's very obvious. And Rogue says, maybe it's just people making me sick to my gut. Lady Freedom. Oh, Rogue, I had seen where you have a bottle of Tums behind you. Yes, I do. It's on my mic stand. I got it's like a little shelf thing that I use. It's like a little box. I'd show you, but I have jewelry and nail polish. I have some nail polish over here, and but yeah, and I my candles that I light and stuff. But yeah, it's I'll pull it up. It's a huge bottle of Tums. Because I'll be like, what I mean? Because these people, and then earlier, with the beard talk, I was like, oh God, help me, and I'm not saying anything bad about beards. There's a lot of nice, sexily kept beards. No offense against guys out there with the beards. I'm just saying when it's that long and there's growth and squirrels in it. And then James Cooper says they should be arrested for abuse. Oh, sorry. I read that one. CP destroyed his own reputation. Absolutely, Calm Kitty. Absolutely. Hey, Shelly. Oh, Shelly got a membership. Awesome. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Aw, thank you guys. That's so wonderful. Oh, I could think of other things I would like to call them. Bobby. I've sworn a lot tonight, but how can you not? They're a bunch of buttholes, and if they want to act up, well, we got to call it out, The Foot Club, Deanna, the Foot Club. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. Hey, Ann Reynolds. Good to see you, honey. I'm glad you're here. In my opinion, if KP and CP was arrested and questioned independently, they'd all blame each other and throw the other under the bus. And I heard there was an arrest in Michael Monkey Vaughn's case today, Babs, and I didn't get a chance to go over and find out what all was going on. But that's kind of how it was in that case, right? They were throwing each other under, and they were saying a story, then this, and then retracting it, but yeah, they were all squawking like little stool pigeons on each other, right? Just ratting left and right. And that's what people do, and especially, who's gonna take the deal first and who's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, that's always something to entice someone, to talk. Now, are they gonna tell the truth? That's kind of where we get into issues, but, most of the time they won't. Calm Kitty, she does look, especially now with the loss, the weight loss. It's like Cruella all day. Like, I'm sorry, you know what I mean? Aw, thank you, Hindsight. Thank you so much. Aw, thanks, Rogue. Shelly says, in my opinion, when Seth fired those two PIs is when the case became divided. So many were pissed he did this. Seems off to me. Very sus to me. Hey, Shelly, that's a good point. There were people that were kind of pissy pants about that, weren't they? And that's odd to me. It is odd. It's sus. It's odd. It's like, well, why? What personally, because, at that time, again, I was neutral, and I still am neutral. I mean, I can't say that I'm like, obviously it's not like, you know, anything. It's all in the past, it's happened already, or whatever. But yeah, I was neutral back then, and I was just kind of like, well, it didn't work out there. It looks like something happened, and I did gather that there was information that wasn't getting over to Seth, and he was upset about that. Legitimate, right? And so that's why I was like, well, business relationships, interpersonal ones, friendships, whatever. So they don't always work out, right? You go your separate ways. You're like, this isn't a good fit anymore. I thought this was going to be a good fit, and it's not. Or, you simply decided that you weren't attracted to a person anymore, what have you. It happens all the time. So I just kind of chalked it up to that. Like, maybe it just wasn't a good fit. Maybe, they weren't giving him enough information, and he was upset, and he decided to boot him, but, I never, hated anybody one way or another. There were a lot of things in hindsight that you can look back on and think, okay, well, that's a little bit weird, and I appreciate your comment, Shelly, because that makes a lot of sense. The redneck mafia, CC. I try not to give them that much credit. That's great, though. The redneck mafia. Oh, we need Weird Al to make a. We need. Where's Weird Al when you need him? That's so funny. And HGG says a lot of channels are reaching out on other platforms to support their plight. Sadly, they lose beyond YouTube, in my opinion. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's another thing too. When you decide to make a strategic move, instead of keeping Sebastian's best interest in mind, that's where you're always going to lose me every single time, because it's like, just because you want more people in your chat or more money or whatever, that to me, it's just not worth it. And I would never support somebody that abused their child. No way. Stepchild, their child, allowed their child to, bear the brunt of it every single time. Because a lot of times, especially with DV victims, you will hear that like the kids didn't bear the brunt because you would be sticking up for the kids. Sorry guys, I have poofies. These sleeves are so poofy, they like to pop out every now and then. But you'll have those situations where the abuser tries it with the kids, right? And then you're like, whoa, no, you're not doing that to the kids, right? Like, beat on me all you want, but don't do it to the kids. You see that people have dealt with it. Many of us have dealt with it. You don't allow for it. You take it, because it's not the kid's fault. It's not the kid's fault that you made a bad decision. They shouldn't have to bear the brunt of it. Because you do hear of abusers, because they love the control, because it's all about coercive control to them, that they will start controlling everything in the household, the kids, the finances, what's cooked for dinner, how the table is set, what time dinner is. And if it's not on the table at that time, by golly, it better be, things like that. And it just trickles down to everything, right? It trickles down to everything. I mean, Chris didn't even wait to start abusing his own child when she was in the carrier. Nina had just given birth to her, and he's slamming her on the coffee table, allegedly, in Nina's opinion. I got something for you guys. And shout out to my friend who sent this to me. I appreciate you so much. You know who you are. So this is a post, right? And it's somebody else telling their theory about, what they think happened to Sebastian, right? And what is going on in the dynamics with Chris and Katie, right? So this person thinks that Katie's like the narcissistic mastermind, right? Okay. And she says, I didn't think this in the beginning, but after, she's watching, and now she does think this way. I will say that in the phone call that Justin shared, I can see this woman's point of view. Her body language, and Chris tried to be close to her. She gave him a cold shoulder, no words. I could tell in that moment, sad for Sebastian, who endured so much in that home for the last few years. I worry for Faith. She should not be allowed near Katie at all, in my opinion. Now, we know on the last visit that Katie was, in fact, the primary caregiver during the visit. Because Chris, even though he has very limited time with his daughter, was working. Didn't bother to take the time off. Allegedly, from what we saw. Nina Gomez, who is Chris's ex-wife, writes, I also worry about my baby's safety out there. No matter how much I fight for her, it's a slap in our faces as a family who loves her so much. My heart breaks for both Sebastian and Faith. The system has failed both of them. The system has failed both of them. So this just goes to show, and this was from about 4 or 5 days ago, maybe even a week ago. It just goes to show that Nina does fight for Faith. I am also so worried about my baby's safety out there. No matter how much I fight for her, it's a slap in our faces as a family who loves her so much. To have to send her to go into that house, it has to be absolute torment and torture every day leading up to it. Then she has to go and give her baby over to these people. And then she has to sit back and wait and worry. And then finally she'll get Faith back, hopefully. But why is the New Mexico court system allowing for this? What are they doing? What are they thinking? Some people say that Chris's lawyer is lying to them. Some people say that Chris's lawyer has convinced the judge that Chris and Katie have nothing to do with Sebastian's disappearance. And unfortunately, we have to rely on these judges to make the proper judgment call. But in all honesty, I can't see any reason why they would allow for a beautiful little girl to go into an environment where her stepbrother went missing from. With this, at the very least, an asshole, right? Because everybody's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But this guy, in my opinion, is a complete tool. He enjoys hurting a woman like Nina. That's Nina in the middle. The bubble is one of her daughters, Isabel, and Faith is as a baby. And then we have Sebastian, who is missing. And by even Chris's own accounts, Sebastian was punished and in trouble, his animals taken from him, his toys thrown in the trash can in front of him. He was belted. We see bruises on Sebastian. There's pictures of bruising on his neck. There's pictures of bruising under his eye. There's pictures of bruising on his lip. So, I mean, yeah, where is law enforcement, right? And who gives a fuck about a bruised ego or any of their mind games, any of their deception, when we have this beautiful child missing, and then we have another beautiful child who has to go into that environment and she has no choice. And her mother is fighting for her because she knows what this man is capable of. She married him and lived with him. She knows what his family is capable of. Hell, she was brave enough to show her face and tell her story, yet nobody listens to her. And even though some people listen to her, they're still not really listening to her. Because if anybody was truly listening to Nina, then Faith would never have to step foot in the house with those people again. Not until Sebastian's found, at the very least. But we still see this miscarriage of justice. We still see a system that refuses to act and be proactive in helping these children. They simply refuse. They simply refuse. Thank you, Serenity. Thank you for your super chat, hun. Serenity says, I think if the judge saw his last outburst the other day, they might change their mind. No kid should be around that anger. Well, and we know that the judge had ordered him anger management classes, and then we see this behavior. You know, at the very least, you would think after the anger management classes, he might simmer down a little bit and try to come off, you know, as not having so many issues because he's learned some things and some tools that he can, you know, implement and stuff like that. But that's the whole problem with Chris is in his narcissism and his ego, this overinflated self, is because he actually thinks that he doesn't have any issues. Oh, yeah, I had words with my mom outside the courthouse. Yeah, it's okay that I yelled at my own mother publicly. It's okay that everywhere I go, I fly off the handle. It's okay if I pop off, and you know, it doesn't matter. I'll just pop off whenever I feel like it, and you know, and then I'll just blame it on the fact that Sebastian's missing. Hey, you know, I blamed it on Sebastian all the time. You know, blamed it on him with the school. You know, if there was problems or any issues in Katie and I's marriage, it was always Sebastian's fault, right? It's him or me. Yeah, I'll just pop off and blame it on Sebastian again. You know, and woe is me, my stepson's missing. Baloney, you know. Thanks, Serenity, so much for your super sticker, excuse me, super chat. And I agree. I think that the judge needs to see that, you know. Hey, Lil Redo. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Canine Captain Jules. Thank you so much for your super chat. She says, sent you an email. Hope you're having a good night. Thank you. I'm trying. I'm trying. I just can't believe all the craziness. You know, I hate to hear that. I just hate to hear good people, you know, are being harmed or you know, really defamed and dragged through the mud for no reason, you know, no reason at all. Here, guys, while I check my email, oh, of course it kicked me off of here. It just loves kicking me off and putting me on the public Wi-Fi, which is not worth it. All right, give me 1 second. 1 second, guys. And oh, there it goes. Okay, we got her going. All right, so let me go ahead and play our chicken party. Well, it's not. It's our version of a chicken party. It's a Lady Freebird party. Give me 1 second here. Okay, and let's play it while I look at this really quick. Oh, my bad.
Weezer, there's someone I'd like you to meet. That looks like an autopsy.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. I'm so mad I don't know what to do. I want to know why. Lord, I wish I could understand. I just want to hit something. I want to hit it hard.
Here, hit this. Go ahead, Merlin. Slapper. Are you crazy? Hit her.
Are you high, Clary?
We'll sell T-shirts saying I slapped Weezer Boudreaux. Hit her. Weezer, this is your chance to do something for your fellow man. Knock her lights out, Merlin.
Let go of me.
But y'all don't say that.
Merlin, you just missed a chance of a lifetime. Have a chickapin parish and give the eye teeth to take a whack at Weezer.
You are a pig from hell.
Weezer, I was just kidding. Come back. Oh.
Weezer, what brings you here? Shut up.
Not a bad Christian thing to do. And now you gotta lighten up.
If you can't say anything nice about anybody, come sit by me.
Looks like two pigs fighting under a blanket.
A girl is fair game until there's a ring on it. And I mean a wedding ring. An engagement ring just means she's ready for one more mistake. Okay, this is perfect. Watch this.
Sometimes I wish I was smooth like Zahid. Of all the people I know, he's the best at girls.
Thanks, Weezer. Nothing like a good piece of ass.
And that's how you do it. Now, I'm gonna go hide in the back because that guy said he's gonna kick my ass and he has a neck tattoo, so...
I am pleasant. Damn it! I just saw Drum eating in this morning at the Piggly Wiggly, and I smiled at the son of a bitch, for I could help myself.
Honey, time marches on, and eventually you realize it's marching across your face.
Okay, guys, so that was our little party there. So I just received this email. You know how CP was on the stream the other night and mentioning Suck starting a shotgun. This was not the first time. He said this to Jules on a call, and here is a clip. So I'm just going to play this for you guys. Just let me know if we have issues hearing. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Yeah, they love making up lies, Jules. They just love it.
Well, actually, JLR. So I'm going to give you my personal opinion. That you take for what you want. Okay. JLR, Pascal, T-Red, Trevor Lee, you name them. They can all go fucking duck start a shotgun. Every fucking one of them. All this has turned into a fucking circus.
Wow. I won't be bullied into silence. I'm going to keep fighting for him. Sebastian. Unbelievable. So there were several creators.
Well, actually, JLR. So let me. I'm going to give you my personal opinion. Now you think of what you want.
Okay.
JLR, Pascal, T-Red, Trevor Lee, you name them. They can all go fucking duck started shotgun. Every fucking one of them. All this has turned into a fucking circus.
All of it's turned into a circus because of your actions, Chris. And it was very methodical, in my opinion. You know, thanks, Jules, for sharing that. And, you know, I think it just goes to show, you know, he's systematically taking people down, right? Because JLR used to do exposés on Chris and try to figure out what was going on with the custody battle with Nina. And that all stopped, right? Was that because he was told to start a shotgun? Because that's pretty fucking gross. Let's see. T-Rev. You know, I don't even want to mention the other person because how dare he? Like, you know, disgusting. You know, it's like a free-for-all. It doesn't matter. You know, if you talk about Sebastian, if you try to find justice for him or any type of answers, if you even get close to figuring out what's going on or trying to or talking about it, they will say vile, awful things like go start a shotgun. And those are people that have supporters. Those are people that people send their hard-earned money to. Those are people that decide, hey, these are a good group of people. I'm going to go sit with them at court. Or, hey, these are good. These are a good group of people. I'm going to go give them super chats and stuff like that. I mean, that makes no sense to me, you know? Lil Redo, that's cool. I love talking about sociopaths. I love when you talk about sociopaths. That's terrible. I love when you talk about sociopaths. It's my favorite subject. It's very enlightening. No, but we do. I mean, we deal with sociopaths, right? We deal with that kind of level of psychopathy and different things in the dark triad. And, you know, I find it to be very interesting that there are people that have done the studies on them and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, show poodles, I agree. I think, you know, I think the main focus just needs to keep staying on Sebastian, you know, but I won't, Birdie Party, Pale Rider, thank you for being here. But, you know, I do think it's direct, there's a direct correlation between the shit starting and the shit stirring, and then all of everything that comes with it, that whole shit show, the circus, all of the BS, you know, it definitely all goes back to these people, you know, spoon feeding narratives to creators, cozying up with them, promising them interviews for, you know, subscriber count or whatever it is, you know, funneling money through, you know, that's a big one for me, you know. Thanks, Meg. I know. Yes, I love I love that. Hey, Sasha, good to see you. Hey, Mama Dukes. Mama Duke says, been away for a day. What happened with Julie? I need to get back, I think. Or go back. Yes. Oh, boy. This probably won't be the only, we'll probably talk about her tomorrow because she's been pulling a bunch of, you know, crack. Crack. A bunch of crap. I read Meg's comment. She says, LOL, cracks me up. Mountain Mama says, I hope that somehow Faith doesn't have to come to the feats this summer. I can't imagine the stress Nina and her family have when she is there. Oh, I know. I'd be beside myself. I really would be. I can't imagine. And, you know, it's not like it's like, you know, across town or something like that. It's like across a couple states. right, from New Mexico to Tennessee. So, I mean, God, my heart's always with Nina. I will tell you, ever since I heard her story for the first time, I mean, my heart was with her. It just, her story resonates with me so much. I don't even want to go into how much, because it isn't about me, but I will say that, you know, I'm just grateful that she is away from him and safe. And I just wish that, I just really hope, Freebird, it's a funny dance. I really hope that something happens in the interim, because I just don't, I don't know. I just can't imagine they would terrorize her that way. Or Faith, for that matter. You know, she's really who matters. Carla says, my God, send the video to Nina where he's going off. Maybe her lawyer can get Judge to watch it. It's evidence he's not good for the kids. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's not okay. And the thing is that kids are super intuitive. And we were talking about this the other day, you know, even though we think that we're hiding a lot of things from them, right? Or maybe we're doing our best, right? Let me rephrase it. Sometimes we think that we are doing our best to keep situations away from the kids, but sometimes they overhear things, or they get a feeling, right? You know, they can feel there's something not right, because they take their cues from us as adults. And so when they see us stressed out, then they get stressed out, you know. It reminds me of, you know, during the Johnny Depp trial, when he was up there and he was talking about his childhood, and his mom would tell him, hey, can you go get me a nerve pill? And, you know, he's like, nerve pill, okay, you know. And I mean, most of the time, a little kid, you just do what mom asks, right? I'll go get her medicines, right? But then he realized what nerve pill was, right? It's controlling her nerves, and after she would take this pill, it would calm her down. And he said that that's how he started coping, and he would take one of her nerve pills, right? Because if it calms mom down, then it can calm me down. You know, absolutely wrecked my heart, you know, because Johnny Depp is one of my favorite actors, but of all time. I mean, but it just goes to show kind of that childlike, or child mindset, the mentality behind it. And even if we think we're hiding things from the kids, we're not. So we know that Faith is probably feeling the tension, the anxiety, the pressure, the buildup to this visit. In my opinion, it is not in her best interest to have to feel that way. I don't know what the judge is thinking. You know, I just wish that they would, you know. I do. I really wish that they would. So, and Joel says, I mean, it was awkward. I don't know what to say. I could tell. That was so funny, though. You handled it well. You're like, okay, awesome. Good on you, buddy. You know what I mean, how do you respond? But you responded perfectly by being calm, you know, because if you would have been like, well, you're a real asshole, you know, that could have opened up a whole nother can of worms. But, you know, to just sit there and say, okay, yeah, you know, obviously this guy has issues and he needs to have some things that he's working out right now. And I'm just sitting here listening. It's kind of my take, or how I took it. No, you did so well. And I'm sorry that you even had to, like, deal with that. You know what I mean? Because, oh God, I mean, what a tool. CP is the star of the circus, Freebird. Oh my God. Is he ever? And he loves it too. And I think Katie's the ringleader. I think he's the star clown and she's the ringleader. I swear that phone call opened my eyes a lot, you know, because I had been for a while, you know, thinking, oh, well, you know, Katie might be scared, you know. And I mean, it still could be true, but I'll tell you what, she really didn't mind, she's not really the type of person that seems to speak over people. And so when we hear her doing that, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, there we go. There's some life in that one. There we go. I knew there was something, because it's weird when we hear her background. I mean, again, not to go too far into it, but I mean, it's just odd. You go into the Navy or any armed forces, and in boot camp and stuff, they break you down, get you there, and you have to earn your spot there, right? But they do build you up and build your confidence. I've seen really scrawny little guys go in, and this is maybe a different analogy than women, but same thing, going in, and then when they come out, they're buff, they're ready, they're confident, they're standing up tall, they're clean cut. They have been trained to be a certain way, put off a certain air about themselves. You're not going to see a soldier going in there timid and, hey guys, you mind if I shoot you? It's not like that. It's going to be like, I'm here. This, you're confident. So I was looking for that this whole time, and there it was. It's just been a facade that she's only showing us what she wants us to see. The same thing. Somebody was cracking me up with a diet Dr. Pepper drinking game, and I have my Mexican I have my Mexican Coke here, and I thought, hey, we could do a drinking game. We could do a drinking game to that, if it's your choice, whatever you'd like. I mean, have at it, but we could do a whole drinking game, just, sitting here with the lies of the proud feet, or how many times does Chris say, let me make it crystal clear, or let me help you out? How many times does Chris try to help us out? It's quite humorous. That was from May of last year. Thanks, Jules. Thank you. May of last year. So if we think about that time frame, that was just around the same time frame, wasn't it? Yeah, Web Sleuths, because Web Sleuths, I filled up my notebooks like really bad. So now I'm in the position where I need to put it into an actual computer like a good organized person would. But let me see here. I did have a whole list of, because what was it? Was it April? No, I think it was around April 27th. Where's my little list? Maybe it's in my other one. Dagnabbit. Oh, here it is. All right, let's see. Very professional sheet of paper, notebook paper here. So Web Sleuths was April 27th. Yeah. So yeah, and then, they went on Queen Bee May 23rd. And then it was May 7th was when Seth passed his poly with Nancy, is what I have written down here. So yeah, this was around the time frame then, it seems like. Web Sleuths being April 27th. So around that. Wow, Jules. So that puts things into perspective too. Thank you. Sorry, guys. I had a little moment where I was kind of nerding out with my notes there for a minute. My bad. I believe so too. Yeah, Carrie Starr needs to be turned over to the FBI ASAP, both audios. Well, I mean, it's like, how many threats is this guy gonna get how many threats is this guy gonna get away with, right? Because it's like, if any of us was doing this stuff, I would think that we'd be in trouble by now. You know what I mean? Cece says, I would be at a loss for words with that insanity. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Cece. Well said. Hey, Annette. Annette says, as a mother of a child who's tried to unalive themselves several times, I was horrified about what CP tried to encourage. Oh my gosh, Annette, I am so sorry to hear that. And it's just like anybody that's going to sit there and try to make somebody else feel so bad about themselves, so worthless in life that they have nothing to bring to the table, that is just somebody projecting out what they feel about themselves. And I really believe that. I couldn't believe it. I was talking with somebody earlier about that, about how god awful what was said, and how dare they, because if for those of you who aren't familiar, Annette's talking about where Chris Proudfoot recently said to BJ that her husband and children would be better off without her. In what realm is that okay? In what universe is that okay? And then you have the audacity to turn around and say you were raised right? Huh, think again. Google it, y'all. Google it, because that ain't right. And just ask Google, is it okay to make somebody feel so worthless and incite them to take their own lives over it? No way. Google's going to be like, no, you dummy. You big dummy. Jen says, who is Chris? Who in the Christ does he think he is? Oh yeah, who in the Christ does he think he is? Yeah, I don't know, Jen. I think it's just the delusions of grandeur of a narcissist. He thinks he can just treat everybody however he wants, whenever he wants. I agree, show poodles. I agree. Yes, Meg says, K9, thank you for sharing that. It's horrible, but we all need to hear it. Thank you so much. It is horrible. And just to say that about somebody, again, these were people that were trying to help find Sebastian. I mean, just to put it into perspective, JLR, maybe we don't agree with everything all of the different creators are doing, but it's just odd that it's always somebody that is trying to find Sebastian, trying to search for answers, just simply looking for the answers, traveling to locations. And even Smiley had said something about that. She's like, well, how come you're not grateful for the coverage at the very least? And Chris, of course, flew off the handle. And Carrie says the only not right about this case is the foots and socks, all this nonsense they spread it to others, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. And then we have more and more people that are willing to spread it for them. So what's the incentive? And that has been my biggest question. What's the incentive? Right? And then of course the motivation, because when we think about what would incentivize somebody to flip the way they did, it's strange, it's just strange how they do a flip like that. And I don't really understand what is the incentive behind it. Is it, again, because we were talking about clicks, views, naturally when you collaborate with other channels on YouTube, that's how you network and build your channel and things like that. But why would you choose to network and want to associate yourself with someone who is a self-proclaimed and very well-known, abuser in the public eye and in the public perspective on YouTube? It's very strange, and hindsight says, Babs, he also said that same phrase this week on his rant. He did. He said basically that someone can go ahead and do that, just that very same thing, put a pew pew in their mouth. Absolutely awful, You know, Rogue, I think so. Rogue says, who raised Chris Proudfoot? Was it Bower Sox mostly? I think he came into his life later on in life, but I think that there was a fractured relationship with his father. And according to Chris, what he told Terry Lynn was that he was treated this way, excuse me, that he was treated this way by someone, and he knows the difference between, abuse and um, disciplining. But he said he was abused, so that's how he knows the difference, right? So, and I was assuming that he was talking about his father because he seems to have a better relationship with Flying Monkey Socks, or Step Socks, So I can't believe that people do follow them and support them. Yeah, I can't believe it either. And there's got to be something. There's got to be some reason, Um, there's just something to it. Annette says, "Don't call BK one if you've been following the Idaho 4 case." Oh my goodness, yeah, no, I have not been, but I heard there's some things that I've seen here and there that makes me think like, what is going on in that case, because it is another very controversial. Some people think BK is Brian Kohlberger is innocent. Some people think he's guilty. Some people think there was enough evidence. Some people don't. I mean, it's very controversial. It really is. He's a scary guy in my opinion. He's a creepy guy at the very least, which is my take on it thus far, since I haven't watched a whole lot of the trial. Yeah, he does, Jen. He makes himself look more and more like he has no IQ. Yeah, like, or just no regard, no self, reflection, no self-awareness. Absolutely, you know. And that says 100% Lil Red. And I'm sorry, guys, I must have missed some comments. I know I'm a little bit behind in the chat. I try to been going by the timestamp. And I think I'm a little bit behind. Pale Rider says he is far worse than any case of little man syndrome I've ever seen. Definitely. Yeah. Like I was thinking he had like a total Napoleon complex, right? Like that comes from Napoleon Bonaparte, not Dynamite. But he was like a dictatorish kind of a guy in history, right? And he was little guy, right? So everybody was like, that's where short man syndrome comes from, right? And then we have short men don't want to. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, itty bitty shrivel little short man is Chris Proudfoot. Gonna make him my grand bitch. All right, so Cece says, I'm sure Julie is not finished for the week yet. We will see more of it by Sunday. I know, and it's Easter. I'm like, Cece, it's like, come on, Julie, the Lord has risen. Let's rejoice. Like, what the hell is going on here? Please, like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Do people not feel a little bit kind of more lovey during the holidays? I do. I try to like be like, okay, humanity. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's like, oh my gosh, um, it's unbelievable. You did hear that, Lori, that Nina filed for sole custody of Faith. I hope that she gets that. I hope that that is in the works. Yeah, thank you for sharing that because, she shouldn't have to go there. There's no reason. There is no reason, not with what's going on. Jen said, and if they show you their middle finger, that's also their IQ. Jen, that's funny. If they show you their middle finger, that's also their IQ. I just thought that was sign language. I'm just kidding. Baba Rose says, well, she does not now, but her hometown, I believe. Oh, sorry, I must have missed something. In my opinion, CP is sadistic. Calm Kitty, I agree. And Rogue says, why all the circus acts with a true crime case? This isn't entertainment. It's somebody's life. Yes, it's not normal at all. It's not, Rogue. And it's something to always think about too. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a game. It's not a reason to mess with people's emotions or their minds. It's not a reason to insert yourself in there for notoriety or personal gain or whatever it is. Um, it's really to kind of get down in the muck and the mud and in the weeds with the family, even if it's somebody that you don't agree with, and listen to what they have to say and support what they have to say. And, if you see things that are abnormal, then I think it's normal to report those things. I think it's normal to sit here and discuss if we all say something like, okay, this is not right. Just like everyone's reaction to the phone call that we just played. Hearing Chris use those words again and naming specific people and saying that, we all should pause and say, whoa, that's not right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Does law enforcement know about this? What? We should be doing that normally. That should be like a collective, right? But instead, we see people directly going for the opposition and saying, well, everybody needs a villain. Oh, they're just doing this because they just want a villain. Oh, yeah, because we really want a villain, right? Yeah, because I think most of us want Sebastian found. I don't think that we want a villain. I think we want to find out where Sebastian is. We want to get him home to his family. We want to find out what happened to him, because let's just say, hypothetically, Sebastian walked out of the house and there is footage, but LE is keeping it close to the vest. Let's just say hypothetically that that's the case. And then all of a sudden Sebastian is found safe, right? God willing. And he comes home to his family. Where was he? Who had him? Why was he gone for so long? What happened to him while he was gone? The story's not over. It's far from over. Now it's finding Sebastian some justice. Now it's finding out the truth of what happened to him. And I'm here to tell you, if that scenario plays out and that scenario works, there is no hypothetical about it. Sebastian will tell his dad what happened to him. Sebastian can advocate and has advocated for himself. So make no doubt about it that he's going to tell what happened to him, right? We're going to find out. The alternative, and maybe another hypothetical, could be that Sebastian met with foul play, and we're still going to have to work to find out what happened to him. We're still going to have to find answers, and we're still going to have to work to find justice. So no matter what outcome occurs, Sebastian deserves justice, because he has lost 14 months with his family. 14 months away from his stepsister, 14 months away from his dad, 14 months away from his friends at school, his teachers who love him, the community that has embraced him. Either any way I shake it, he needs justice. We're going to have to find out. And if there's people out there that don't want us to find the answers, and that don't want us asking questions, and that want us to shut up and accept the fact that he poof disappeared, how could you be on that side? Because they're obviously hiding something, if that's what they want. If they're expecting us to believe their lies and their bullshit, they're hiding something. Carrie Star says, Nina needs to take these audios, this one you just played and the one from the other day, especially that one with the sick child comment. Absolutely. The baby, underbits. Yeah. Who does that? Only a weirdo does that. Only a weirdo does that. Only a sick person thinks that way. And who would ever think of a child's underparts that way? I mean, nobody that's normal thinks that way, right? And I'm not talking about like, I mean, I get it, what's normal, right? Everybody's unique. I get that part. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not somebody that has a healthy mindset that would ever say something like that. It's disgusting. You know, straight up. And it's cause for pause when we have a child who went missing, when we have, you know, a parent who has, well, let's just face it. There's been a lot of things that have happened under Chris and Katie's care where Sebastian was in danger, in direct danger. There was trauma that was caused while Sebastian was in their care. But that's okay. We should just let that slide because we don't want to hurt Chris and Katie's feelings. Oh, we got to polish these turds. Come here, Chris and Katie. It's not that bad. No, actually, it is that bad. Because something horrid happened to Sebastian under her watch. And now he's missing under her watch. So do I care about Chris and Katie's feelings? Not really. Not really. Do I care about the feelings of somebody who would lie on a father and say that he was unaccounted for when we all know damn well that he was accounted for? I don't feel sorry for that person. Not one single bit. And don't you dare say that you're doing it for Sebastian or that you're all about Sebastian or you're on Sebastian's side. That is a whole lump of crap. And you know it. Can't polish that turd. Yeah, C. Taylor says, I'm sure you were thinking, what the hell? Yeah, much more insanity. No kidding, C. Taylor. How awful. You know? I agree, Rogue. And I hate to say that because I hate to bring, you know, viewers in and stuff like that. Because I love all you guys. I think you guys are all super smart and have so much to bring to the table. But a lot of these people, watchers, subscribers, etc., are mentally unfit to discuss these cases. You know? It's crazy. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says because they aren't in it for finding Sebastian. They are in it for the money and the need for some sort of content. Yeah. And they're too lazy to do any of their own stuff, you know? It's like, get up there and think about stuff, you know? Jill says, I don't get why Pascal was randomly mentioned. I've heard him speak ill on either side. Oh, I've never heard him speak ill on either side. No. Pascal's never have. He never has, to my knowledge. Now I haven't watched Pascal in a while because I usually only watch the people that cover Sebastian, you know, regrettably, admittedly, you know, these days. But no. Pascal was mentioned because, you know, Seth used to go on Pascal quite frequently, and he would, you know, basically talk with Pascal and give updates and things like that in the very beginning. But no, I have never I have never heard him speak ill on either side. He remained very neutral. Now there was things where he would say, you know, make it make sense, or, you know, but no, I really enjoyed his coverage, and I was active in his community when Seth was because of Riley Strain's case. I was following him, you know, very closely. I am T-Bear says I'm crushed, I crushed on him hard when Jump Street first came out too. Ooh la la. Yeah, I know. I am T-Bear. Yes. And I love that Benny and June. Oh, thank you, CP. Captain Jules, thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes. Okay, hold on one second, guys. Sasha says, my concern is here comes another 8-year-old. Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's just awful because that little girl doesn't deserve. I mean, you know, I believe that I believe that children need both parents. I'm not saying that. It's just it's frustrating because of the situation, you know. It really is. Oh, yeah. I understand that, Jules. I totally get it, you know. He believed the whole canine track thing until I told him. Oh, I gotcha. I know. That makes sense. Wow. I remember you doing that. I don't think it was with pharmaceuticals, but I think it was something different. And, your dogs are amazing. I think that is the coolest thing ever. I always thought that was, you know, so interesting. Um, because dogs are just so like they're so happy to like please us, aren't they? Like they're so good. They're the best creatures. I love cats too and everything, but um and Jen says I know he would like that Sebastian's leopards don't change their spots. Or excuse me, I know he would talk like that excuse me. Let me say it again. I know he would talk like that to Sebastian. Leopards don't change their spots. I agree. And, we've heard him, and then he goes on, oh, you guys want to hear me say the R word? Here you go. And he's over there saying, it's like, how rude. You know that people don't like that. You know how offensive it is. Again, Maman did a great go watch it in my community post, guys, because she says it perfectly. That used to be a medical way of describing someone, but it turned into something that's very derogatory. And he knows that. He knows the reaction that he's going to get, yet he does it to get that reaction. And Jules says the whole point of the call was to vet my credentials, which he did. Right. Yeah, that was the whole point. But, he took it upon himself to like sit there and talk negatively about other people. And you're just sitting there like, okay, you know, oh, who am I, your therapist? Which believe me, it seems like the guy needs therapy. Um, and that they must have run out of people to bully that day. Canine. Oh my lord. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, I'm thinking that the law doesn't believe that his comments or rants directly endanger faith. Maybe if this behavior can be proved when he has her, Nina may have a case against CP. Yeah, exactly. I see exactly what you mean. And it's really, really sad. It's sad that they wait until something horrible happens or a child is traumatized before they, decide to act. You know what I mean? Um, the ringleader. Freebird, I'm telling you. Um, Jules says, I have a clip of him saying both TBI and Sumner County said I was legit. Yeah, and I remember playing that like around Christmas time, Jules. And that's the thing, like, I mean, the way that they try to discredit people is unbelievable to me. And it's like, it's things that people could really just look it up, right? Like, even the things that when they were saying things like that about you, I looked a lot of it up and I was like, oh, okay. Well, this is, and a lot of it's jealousy. I have to say it, and I don't mean like, that to like, to anybody's horn, at all. It's just the jealousy, the envy, like, you are somebody who has made something of themselves. You're very much out there, right? And then to make up, these crazies like LARPer and all of this nonsense when it would be incredibly hard to fake credentials and things like that. It's incredibly hard to do that, so it's all to discredit anybody that is trying to find Sebastian or, um, and it's just a matter of, people taking a step back and saying, does this even make sense? Or taking the time to Google it, y'all, or taking the time to do your own research and be like, well, who is Julia Valenti? Who is Julia Valenti? Excuse me. But just do that, and you can look on for your own self. But there's people that just don't mind. They smear. They'll say anything. They don't care how hard you work to get where you're at, because they're a scum bum, that hasn't worked for anything. They just get up there and fire up some ganja, and ha 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 ha, and I mean, anybody can do that. It takes a lot of integrity and things, and I mean, honor, courage, the things that you have accomplished. And then we always got to consider the source, because you know like I said, these shit bums over here that haven't accomplished very much at all, they just love to discredit somebody that has. um I'm sorry, it happened to me. So I'm like, here you go. This is the truth. I mean, it is what it is. Um, you know, it's like it's bizarre, but I'm beginning to understand a lot of it. But yeah, it's weird. Calm Kitty says, in my opinion, KP has psychological issues from the abuse she went through. Yeah, I think so too, Calm Kitty. I do. I do. And I think, a lot of the things that, happen, psychologically when we're abused, or with generational trauma and things like that, because we've talked about that as well. It's just a matter of really, getting into, um, your sense of self, right? Because that is what's mainly stolen away from you, a lot of it, when you are abused, is that, your sense of self. It's like, who was I before that? And trying to make sure that you don't harm somebody else because of your trauma, right? Because let's face it, a lot of the things that come along with having, the psychological trauma, is going to affect the people around you, the people that you love, the people that you spend your time with, and things like that. But it also affects yourself, and your sense of self. And so when you have a bunch of people who are damaged running around, they don't care who they hurt, because I'm hurt and somebody hurt me, and damn it, I'm going to hurt somebody else. Well, that, what is that accomplishing? Nothing. You could turn around and work on yourself. You could take some classes. You could get a hobby, get a life. At that point, when you're looking up people's family members and blasting it all over the internet, I mean, how dare you? But it's funny, because the minute somebody says one thing about her kids, she's turning around crying for 3 days straight on a live and getting sympathy. Go figure. Meg says, as much as it's Canine, thank you again, and as much as it's so bad, I appreciate you sharing it. Everyone needs to know for sure. I hope War shares what she's got with Nina. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Meg. Bab says, KP is a mastermind. She's not a shrinking violet. Yeah, there you go, Babs. People tell me that all the time, Babs. They'll be like, lady, she's not a she's not a shrinking violet. And I'll be like, I know, you guys, but she's got a lot of trauma. And then you guys will be like, no, lady, no. And I'll be like, I know, but, and honestly, I am trying to play devil's advocate. I am a little bit. I'm trying to stay a little neutral, throw these things in, right? This is my theory. Let's talk about this. But no, you're right. KP is the mastermind. She's not a shrinking violet. She's in all control of CP, and he's a mama's boy and Katie's bitch, in my opinion. Babs, well said. Well said. And I have to concur. I must concur. And Carrie says, I don't think KP is scared one bit of CP. I think she controls quite a bit behind the scenes. I mean, it's very apparent, Carrie, in that phone call. I mean, she was like, no. And I was like, holy cow, yes. You know what I mean? Like, I found myself like rooting for Katie. I was like, oh, finally. Oh, how come she never did this before? What? There's her self-respect. There it is. I knew she had it in her, because you don't you don't go through the experiences that she's been through without having that. Even because let's just think about it. All that kind of trauma, that horrible things, you know, and things like that. I'm not negating that. I'm not minimizing it. I wouldn't dream of it. All the things that were happening and everything. She went into the military after that. So again, after you experience something like that, you come back as a different person, right? It's almost like who you were is not recognizable because you've just gone through a transformation, such as becoming trained as one of our military personnel or professionals, right? So don't give me that crap, right? You know, and here I buy into it because I think, okay, well, she's been abused. She has generational trauma. You know, CP is an abuser. So she's been with him for a very long time now. You know, it does eat away at who you are. So it's, you know, I teeter totter, right? But that phone call, Carrie, oh, that phone call was eye opening. I mean, it was like I had, you know, drank my double shot of espresso and thought, holy cow, you know? And I Am Two Bear says he said it publicly on some stream. I heard Canine. Yeah, yeah, he said it the other day. He did. Goodness sakes, Jules. It was an hour and a half phone call. Only reason I haven't shared the whole thing is because he says some private stuff about Sebastian. I hope he didn't disparage Sebastian. Oh my gosh. I would have just, you know, Rogue, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rogue. Rogue says, Canine Captain Jules, we really appreciate your contributions and thank you so much for being here. That is so sweet. And a little dog with a service vest. That's so cute. Yeah. See, and it's crazy. That's crazy, Jules. Yeah, I am too Bear yet, but he did, but people still don't believe that. It's absolutely insane. It's like sometimes people won't even believe them if it slaps them in the face, though, you know, honestly. And that's how I felt like that phone call just slapped me in the face. I'm like, well, I'm awake, you know. Um, oh, did she? Yeah, Jules. We there's a lot of like little like food trucks and stuff around here, and so you can get like the Mexican Coke, and I'm like, that one's the best one because it does have the real sugar in it. So and then I remember, you know, Chris bringing it up. I'm like, well, I'm gonna drink that for my Friday drink. So it does taste better out of the bottle, though. I will say that it really does. My uncle and my aunt like to collect all the Coke stuff too, and like they had all the glasses and stuff. I still have a few of the glasses. um Cece says, I'm sure he was shaming Sebastian again, Jules. Oh, he's great at that. Cece, it's just like makes me go crazy on that. You know, the price of eggs in China, but it's really tea. I was the price of eggs in China. Shopudo says, I love Mexican Coke, but only one of the food trucks sells it here. Yeah, well, usually like I'll get like Jugaritos or something like that. But yeah, I saw the Mexican Coke. I was like, oh, that's a good one. Yeah, oh, see, there goes Sasha with the Jugaritos. Yes, orange. Yes. Oh yeah, and they have a really good lime one. Hindsight. Hindsight 2002 says, Jules, he must have had premonitions of the current egg prices. I'll tell you what, we bought eggs the other day. They were like $5 a carton. I'm like, these poor kids are not going to have anything to decorate, you know? It's like, sorry, we can't afford the damn eggs this year. So Shelly, Mexican Coke, it's a regular one. But it says like, I don't want to do that, but it says fresco on it. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah. But they use real cane sugar instead of like high fructose corn syrup. But I don't know that it's like healthier by any means or anything. It tastes better to me in my opinion, like just the sugar, you know, in it. But You would think telling people that online would be against YouTube service rules. Oh, absolutely. We can't even tell a story about somebody, doing that without having, like, getting demonetized to a certain extent, or, um, you know, at the very least, they put like warnings before your video, like this is for, this is adult content, disturbing content, whatever. I can't believe that it's allowed, and I can't believe that it's not taken seriously as a threat. Which again, again, good old boy system, like, oh, that's just Chris Proudfoot, he's crazy, that old mentality. And it's like, no, he's actually a psycho, you know? And Joel says the only reason I recorded this was because it was a few days after the web sleuth's interview, and I wasn't sure yeah, how it was going to go. I don't blame you, I mean, and again, it's hard to absorb everything, especially in a case like this. It's traumatic knowing that this poor young man, 15 at that time, just went missing, right? We still can't find him. We don't have a whole lot of information. You're trying to find out information, offering your services, the skill set that you earned, right? And yeah, I don't blame you one bit. I would definitely want to do that, and I would definitely want it for even, like, just for reference. So, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes when when you're listening to someone's trauma and you're really in it with them, you remember a lot of details, but some of it gets lost because you're like feeling it with them. So absolutely, and then also you're like fact finding, right? Because you're in a position where you're trained militarily, so you think totally different than I do, right? It's just completely, because I've never been trained that way, right? So yeah, I mean, I would too, definitely. Hey, Detroit Rock City, good to see you, my friend. It says hello, sweetie, at my daughter's, and I got a chance to pop in and say hello. Oh, wonderful. I will probably need to rewind going outside to chill a few and catch up. Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad you're here, Detroit. I think that was May 1st. Okay, so I'll put, wow, so that was, okay, so yeah, that was a couple of, like you said, a couple of days after. Um, I was wondering the same. Maybe it was caliente, a little spicy, something like that, Rogue. I love you, Rogue. You're so hilarious. She's maybe a little caliente. Oh, that's hilarious. She's like, maybe there's some lime in the Coke. And Meg says, it's made in Mexico with real cane sugar. Yes, supposed to be really good. It's really good. Like, it is really, really good. Because usually, like I said, I'll do the Jugaritos, but like, I was like, oh, they have the Mexican Coke? I was like, let's do that. Oh, thank you. I'll check my email too, Vanna. I will. And C. Taylor says, Jules, I remember that. That's when I first learned about Nick. Nick was boots on the ground for Cavalcante, yeah, to the end, and even did lots of follow-up. Yeah, Nick was very much into the Cavalcante. Sorry. Say that 3 times fast. Case. He was. And again, we have people that are discrediting a good person, boots on the ground, trying their best to give, proper coverage, not just sitting here watching other people and figuring it out, I mean, not to disparage myself, but again, I'm not getting in a car and, driving around and figuring it out. I'm kind of figuring out from those people that are out there driving in their car, boots on the ground, that sort of thing. So no, I agree completely. And it really makes me mad. It really does. It bothers me, because it's like, I think it's all like boiling over again, this pressure, right? It's bubbling up, it's boiling over. but I never realized how bad it was, right? And maybe it was always like this and we didn't know about it, right? But or maybe we're feeling the effects of it because of Sebastian's case or whatever. But to disparage people who have their hearts in the right place, that are just trying to figure out what happened to Sebastian, it is so frustrating to me. And to push people out like Jules, who is trained in her dogs. I mean, come on. It's absolutely insane. Hey, Pale Rider. It makes no sense. Hey, KJ Mac. KJ Mac says the vile words that come out of CP's mouth, whether on panel or in a recording, that is who he is. Very well said. And exactly. That's just who he is. That's just who that guy is, and he shows us over and over and over again. And then the hate channels go around and, Freebird, it is baffling hindsight. It is. Hey, Nero V, narcissistic rage mask slips. Absolutely. I believe that. I believe it is narcissistic rage. I believe it is, not being able to control his, anger, emotions, which, obviously we all lose control of our emotions at times. I am very sensitive of a person. I admit that part. But it's a different level when it's like the anger comes out, right? And we all have experienced that. That is a normal human emotion that we all have. But, to fly off the handle, to act, the way that Chris does, it's not acceptable, and it should cause everybody to wonder, you were with this kid, this was something that happened in your house, you were with him last, obviously he claims that he wasn't in the house, but he certainly was trying to talk for Katie and tell the story about what happened on Sunday, and he wasn't there, oh, Meg. Yeah, that's such a good point. Meganelle says, I'm aware of of high numbers. I know of a young woman myself who was in the military and had bad PTSD after and did the same. CP is just a nothing. I mean, how could he? Like, how could you do that? How could you say that to somebody? And you're right, Meg. It's a very high number of people who have served, you know. But for a narcissist like Chris, he might look at his other service members and say, "Oh, well, those guys are, nah, 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 P word, and nah, nah, and stuff like that." So you just never know. Because of course he has those delusions of grandeur, right? He's above everybody. He's so smart. He doesn't, he handles everything perfectly. Nothing he does is ever wrong, because mommy says that, mommy tells him he's perfect. So he's perfect. Another thing that you made me think of as well with PTSD and complex PTSD, right? I've seen tons of comments from women who have been in DV situations who tell me that Chris triggers them so badly, just so badly. They can't take it, because of who he is and who he portrays himself and how he acts, So thank you for your comment, Meg. Hey, Polly's Cookies. Google it, y'all. You placed that so perfectly in your little rant. Like Chris's upbringing, you had me shaking my head and laughing. As I was making a cup of coffee. Polly, thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. Oh, thank you, Vana. Yes, thank you, guys. I got to get back into my emails. I am so bad with my emails lately, guys. Freebird says, Nina said that Mike and Linda Proudfoot and Lady Freedom's raw narratives. Okay. Sorry. Yes. Thank you, Freebird says. Nina said that Mike and Linda Proudfoot, Lady, allegedly CP's dad and stepmom were at the police station with CP tossed faith to her, in my opinion. Yes, they were all there. Like, that's the craziest part, is they were all there. They were all a part of the nonsense. They were all in on it, right? Because they all had the kids. They were watching the kids. Oh, we don't want Faith staying over at Mike and Linda's because of whatever in the past. But, Mike and Linda were taking care of Nina's little boy, things like that. Like they were all intertwined, and Melissa had him, and, yeah. And of course, they were all there. And also, Freebird, made me think too, they were involved on Sunday, right? Because Cassie and Melissa were over at BJ's. They were with Katie that day, that morning. I mean, they're just a pretty close-knit group of people, right? And I don't know. But we're going to talk more about it for sure. I got news for both of them, CP and KP. It's not going to go your way. You've ruined it for yourself, by yourself, just as a good little boy and girl, and tell us, or just be a good little boy and girl and tell us where Sebastian is. I agree, Jen, absolutely 100%. 100%. No, you guys are good. I'm sorry. I get so behind in the chat because I love reading all of your comments. Yeah, Freebird says Nina said on an interview with the lab that Mike and Linda were at the police station when CP tossed Faith at her, allegedly. And, where were the police at over there, I Am Two Bear says Julia... Oh, sorry. I Am Two Bear says Julie thrives on chaos, and she's addicted to drama. She is. Oh God, she just loves it. It just goes to show. Because I was waiting for her to stop with all of the crazy talk, and stuff. But she just hasn't. She just continues on and on with it. It's like, Julie, would you stop already? And could you apologize for what you've done to our wonderful friend Tony Fire? Because we love him over here. Rogue says, yes, he is very triggering to some, not me. I won't let anyone mess with me physically or mentally. Amen, Rogue. And that's one thing, such a good friend of mine would tell me back in the day when, I would have issues with my ex-husband and stuff. He'd be like, stop letting him run your emotional throttle. And I'm like, I'm not letting him do it. He's like, yes, you are. You're allowing him to like you said, Rogue, steal your joy, physically or mentally mess with you. You're worrying about it and he's winning, and that is so important. So thank you for reminding me of that. And thank you for your comment. Because it's the truth. We have to have that, that block up, right? We have to make sure that we put our mask on, right? Of armor against these people. So that way they cannot, get into our heads, get into our emotions, get into our feels, or make us get into our feels, even more importantly, because that can cloud our judgment as well. So Bab says, Megs, me neither. And I felt bad about some things I've blurted out in anger, but nothing so depraved and sick. Who thinks like that? Well, and we've all said things in anger. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a time where we're like, damn, I wish I never would have said that. Or, I could have handled that situation differently. We all feel that way from time to time because we're not always going to react, how we would wish to or how we would think we would, right? Sometimes, like you said, we're just blurred out and you're like, damn, and it's like, oh, but you can't take it back. So you have to, move forward and things like that. But that's kind of where Chris doesn't understand that, Babs, I think, is like, you can't take some of this stuff back. Some of the stuff that you've said is just, so horrific. But then he keeps like solidifying it, like using the R word and stuff like that, knowing damn good and well what it's going to do. It's going to cause a whole shit storm. People are going to be mad. People are going to be outraged. They're going to, heaven forbid anybody hears that and feels badly about themselves because of it, but then he goes to the whole nother level telling people to take their own lives, yeah, he needs to receive the audios too. Yeah, really, Carrie, make him listen to them. I wish the police would set him down and make him listen to those audios and say, you have some splaining to do, Lucy. I mean, come on. And Meganell says, I literally examine his words because they are so abnormal. I agree. And it's just like you're trying to kind of find out like what is going on, right? Like what could he be thinking? Try to get it into his head. Absolutely. Rogue says District Attorney Whitney will do nothing. He is the most corrupt you can get. Yeah, I need to do a deep dive on that guy, DA, because I know that you guys have told me a lot about him, and I've never really deep dived into them. Yes, Sasha, that's Chris and Katie's, or sorry, Sasha, Mike, and Linda Proudfoot are Chris's father and stepmother. Carla says, Rogue, exactly. I'm much stronger than I was 40 years ago. I thank my ex for that. Yeah, absolutely. You should thank yourself for that. You did it. You did the work. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. Therapy, understanding yourself, knowing yourself, understanding that there's going to be certain triggers, understanding that there's going to be times where, you aren't going to react the way you thought you would because the PTSD, right? You go fight, freeze, appease, right? Something like that. And you're like thinking, I thought I would run away, but this time I fought. You know what I mean? It's just a very, it goes back to a very primal response, right? Because our brains are programmed, because of evolution and and such. Vana says, when you've been abused, whether physically or emotionally or both, you have a choice to either continue that cycle or break it and stop it. It's a choice. I agree, Vana. I agree. Yes. Yeah. Because I don't particularly like the statement hurt people, because I don't think that that's true. I think that hurt people try their best not to ever make somebody feel as bad as they did, ever, because you would never want to feel as bad as you did that day that somebody did something to you and took your innocence or took your view of yourself and damaged it, or took the trust that you put in them and betrayed you, so you look at them completely differently. I agree. You make that choice. Like, I'm never going to hurt somebody like that. I'm never going to, you sit back and say, I'm never going to, spank my kids like this, the way that my dad spanked me, or, I'm never going to, say the words like my mom said to me, made me feel bad about myself. You're right. And it is, it's a blow, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, right? It scars no matter what. It's all the same. It's not worse or different, worse or better than the other. Neuro V says CP's father and mother. Yes. So his biological father and then his stepmom, Linda. Meg says exactly, Babs. It's so abnormal, and the details he adds are sick and abominable. Sick and abnormal too. Yeah, they are. Yeah, all of that nasty, just the way, to say it. Just the way he says everything, the terms he puts it in. Anne Reynolds says, in my opinion, I think CP was there Sunday night. Thanks, Anne, for letting us know what you think. Yeah, I mean, he very well could have been, guys. There's all that geofencing stuff that came out, and of course we went over geofencing, talked about it. Very possible that he was still there and that he's not telling the truth. Detroit Rock City says, my sister's boyfriend went into the military to get his life together and he came home a different person. He has really bad PTSD. We just found out he has early onset dementia and he's only 45. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, Detroit. Oh gosh. And that's a really good point too. That does happen, because there's situations, and especially if you're a combat vet, I mean, just anything. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be saying prayers for your sister's boyfriend. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that is so young. The stress it'll do it, Sometimes it's genetic, but the stress will do it, Um, she is going to be online all day and night now that her son has a new place to live. Cuckoo nutso. There you go, Meg. Cuckoo nutso. I love it. Crazy kookaburra. Oh, Lord. And I don't even think don't even think I have the gumption to deal with it. I don't think there's enough, oh gosh. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. Well, no, they were all there, Rogue. Chris's dad was and them, they're all thick as thieves, according to Nina. Um, yes, absolutely, Detroit. Detroit says they always make you second guess yourself, even if they are not there, they still live in your head. Yeah. And I remember, an older video that I made that said, um, just basically just that, it's not the monsters under your bed, it's the monsters that live in your head. It's the ones that are telling you you're not good enough, you're not, you're worthless. How come you can't get it right? How come you can't be more like this? How come you can't be more like my ex? Who knows how many times people have had to hear that, or how about this one? You're never going to find anybody to love you. Look at you. You're ugly. You're fat. You're this. You're that. And we hear this every day played out online where people are just saying the most horrible things. Oh, well, you didn't really earn that. You didn't really earn your real estate license. Oh, you really didn't. No, you didn't. You weren't in the military. You're a live action role player, a LARPer. Bullshit. Just because those shit bums haven't done anything, you know? I mean, that's what it comes down to. I need to switch from Mexican Coke to Sprite. I've had one too many Mexican Cokes over here. There's not enough. I was gonna say earlier, there's not enough tequila on the planet to deal with having to listen to Julie's damn live again. I just got done listening to the shit earlier, and I thought it was gonna be, over with, and now I hear she's really, revving it up. Detroit says he's the sweetest guy you would ever meet. I've known him since he was 14. It's heartbreaking to see him like that. Oh, Detroit. Oh my goodness. I'm just so grateful to have people that will go do that, because I am not the one. Amen, Jules. Not all wounds are visible. That's right. That's right. Sasha says, all I know is Sebastian is my Amber Alert and Whitney is my person to make it right by law, citing Birchfield and Haley's Law. Yeah, Sasha, I understand. I do. And I don't know what he's doing. I really don't, Hey, Tracy, good to see you. Oh, look at you in that wrench. I wanted quite a few videos about a young couple in the 40s, and she was early onset Alzheimer's. It's so sad. Yeah, Carla, it is. When I got my CNA years and years ago, there was a whole floor full of Alzheimer's patients and things like that. And it is so sad, because they don't recognize their family, and it just, it comes with a whole host of issues and things like that. Gosh, in the 40s, it's so young. I can't imagine. Sorry guys, I keep dropping that link. Just don't mind me. It's just the little button that won't go away, and I keep clicking it on an accident. And Jules says, we know who started a lot of the rumors about me because I won't play their little search games. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, she likes to play a lot of games. There's extensive forums about that person. Extensive forums about that person. Done a lot of research, found a lot of shit. So there's that, and stuff that's like, completely like possibly the worst troll on the planet. Meg says I don't have the energy for Julie's live or for any of the hate. I'm too lazy to be a hardcore hater. Me too. Me too, you know, and I like to laugh and have a good time. I don't like to get mad and sit there and watch things that make me so mad, you know. Um, oh no, Tracy. I'm telling you, it's like, good Lord. Aw, that's so good. You're a strong person. You are so strong. Um, Carrie says, who anyone who doesn't follow their narrative is attacked for searching for him and being disappeared, etc. Yeah, well, you can't even barely say one little thing out of the norm without people getting upset about it. You know, I mean, it's one thing to disagree and say, "Hey, you know, I respectfully disagree and this is why." It's another thing to be like, "Look here, bitch." And you know, all that crap that these people do. They don't even have a good point or rebuttal. It's just like, "Listen here, you freaking you need to get some D and you need to, you know, these nasty bitches." And it's like, what? Who? What? No, I don't think so. Like you've said absolutely nothing besides name calling people, degrading people, telling them to take their own lives and crazy stuff like that. But you've said nothing. And then people want to go up there and be like, "Oh, I think you're so smart. No, I want to be on your panel." That was Julie on Clue's panel, kissing her ass. For what? For what? She's gonna treat you like dog crap. But you're kissing her ass? Like, you ain't gonna catch my ass over there. Certainly ain't gonna catch my ass telling anybody, "Oh, you're so smart. Why don't you, you know, make me look like an asshole?" No, thank you. Ain't nobody got time for that. And Carlos's critic says there is no evidence. I wonder if he knows what evidence is. Carla. I love you, Carla. Detroit says, oh, the Julie's live. Yeah, well, she's over there wreaking havoc as we speak, I think. I don't know. Who knows? Hopefully she's tuckered out by now. You know, it's kind of like sometimes you just got to let the baby cry a little bit and then they'll fall asleep. You know, hopefully she's tuckered out by now. She's caused enough shit tonight and hopefully she sleeps like a baby. Sasha says, so let's take a deep dive into Whitley because I got to know if he's helping. Otherwise, we need another judicial officer in another jurisdiction. I'll look into him, Sasha. I will. I'll do that. Yeah, because I think it's worth exploring. It's weird that they haven't done anything, and maybe they're just waiting. Maybe they're just waiting to see if they can find Sebastian. You know, that's been kind of like my thought process behind what I think is happening. Hey, I got change. Good to see you. I don't know. It's just, I understand they're probably not going to bring up the abuse charges, especially if they think that they have persons of interest, because they're going to wait to present all of that to the judge. Maybe get a, you know, more hefty sentence or something like that. I don't know. There's only a few scenarios that would work in that equation, right? That could, you know, be a possible outcome or make sense, I guess. I just wish they would get their heads out of their asses, in my opinion. Not to disparage them. So I think that they're in a better mindset headspace now, I'm hoping. You know, but Carla says Sumner County should have recused themselves from the case because they are too friendly with the Bowerstocks and Proud Feet. I agree, Carla. There seems to be some conflicts of interests present, you know, that I, you know, would also be worth exploring a little further. You know, because I think a lot of us are thinking that, you know, thinking that, and I've seen a lot of it. Tracy says pathetic games they're playing, they're forgetting what really matters, Sebastian. I agree, Tracy. I agree. Well, guys, I'm going to hop off of here because I'm almost been on for 4 hours. I love you all so very much. I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much, Jules, for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing. Thank you for putting this into perspective for us, because I think it is so important to get people's point of views direct, who have firsthand knowledge of things and all of that. And I so appreciate you. And for being so brave to stand up to all of these people, because it is not easy. You know what the easiest thing is flipping sides and going over and sitting with them at court. That's super easy. Like that is like that doesn't take any brain cells. You just kind of and you just go over there and you sit down like a sheep, right? What takes guts, what takes balls, since Chris is always talking about balls and what takes balls, cojones, right, is to actually stand alone and be like, no, this is bullshit and I'm not putting up with it. And you know what? When this person did this isn't right. So thank you, Jules, for having balls. I'm just teasing. But we got to stand up, because these people, they think that they're, getting one over on us, and they're not. We're too smart for them. We are too smart for them. Good night, you guys. Good night, Carrie. Thank you so much. Vanna. Thank you, Carla, Meg, Ann, Jules, Town Chat Cafe, Sasha, Carla, Annette, thank you. Thank you, It Got Changed, Megan Nels. Let's see, Neuro V, Detroit Rock City, Tracy. I love you guys all so much. Babs, thank you for being here. All right, guys, let's go see what's going on the other channels. I'm just as bad as you guys. I'm just as bad. We're all bad, aren't we? But just finding out the information is important, and we'll see how far we get. You might need drink, you might need breaks, you might need coffee, Mexican Coke, whatever you can get. And I'm not talking about the others. I'm talking about but okay, guys. Alrighty, have a good day. Have a good rest of your night. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.